talented weapons to work with.
Mark, for as long as I can remember, Michigan has always had a dynamic receiver. This year's addition is number 80, Braylon Edwards. He's tall, he's talented, but what the coaches love, he has a tremendous work ethic. They're already comparing him to #1 draft pick David Terrell.
Utah fans have made the trip all the way from Salt Lake City for the first meeting ever between these two crews. Guys?
Mark DeVar is certainly glad to be at home. In the big house, he's a much better quarterback. Dramatic difference in every statistic right there from home to road, especially recently. If it's close, remember, Michigan very good in close games, and Utah, the last 5+ years, have lost 16 games by a touchdown or less. The Buckeyes lost to Cincinnati, Kirk, in 96-97. That's 18-90.
Steeped in tradition after 123 years of college football. But after last week's disappointment, they're irritable and irascible and straight up hostile. After last week's disappointment. Kickoff coming up next. It's Michigan and Utah. Welcome back, everyone, to Michigan Stadium under beautiful, benevolent blue sky here on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon. Utah and Michigan, the matchup. A couple of teams coming off of disappointments last week. Utah coach Ron McBride said that after the loss in Arizona, it was the biggest disappointment in his 40 years of coaching. Michigan senior said to a man that after losing to Notre Dame, it was their biggest disappointment. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones, along with Bob Davey. We're glad you came aboard for this first ever meeting between these two crews. Bob, when you look at what happened to both Michigan and Utah from last week, the season can go one of two ways. It can go up or it can go south in a hurry.
You're exactly right, Mark. And whenever adversity hits, you find out about your leadership. And both of these teams had adversity last week. When you lose a college football game, count on two things. The coach is going to get blamed and the quarterback's going to get blamed. For Michigan, John Navarre, he knows it's part of the territory. He's been through this before. For Michigan to bounce back, he has to throw the ball more accurately. He has to take advantage of his tall and talented receivers. For Utah, Lance Rice, he hasn't thrown an interception this year, an amazing statistic. But he struggled last week, particularly early against Arizona. Michigan, tough to run it against. They have to throw the football. For these two teams to bounce back, they better find leadership, and these two quarterbacks better play well.
Well, Utah coach Ron McBride said that this is an opportunity for his team to come in and play and do well against perhaps the premier program in the Big Ten Conference. As for Lloyd Carr on the other side of the field, well, he says the key is that this week they've just got to get back to doing what they do well, and to be able to find out what they do well, establish an identity, and then subsequently hang their hat on that. Carr in his 7th season as head coach. Interestingly enough, they are 14-4 following losses under Lloyd Carr. Michigan wins the toss, and they decide to defer to the second half. Utah will receive the opening kick. As usual, over 100,000 strong here at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. Wolverines to kick off. Grabs kicking off, and it lands at the 5. Crockett. All the way out to the 31-yard line will they start the offense, but first downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Guys, Ron McBride, the coach for Utah, told us that his biggest concern on offense is to stay out of 3rd and long. This Michigan defense leads the nation in sacks. They've got 15 already this year. They broke the school record with 50 a year ago. On this pace, they'll break it again. Ron McBride said they cannot be in 3rd and long because Michigan will kill them. He said that's the biggest key is get big yardage on the first down, get them out of trouble on the 3rd. Guys?
All right, Holly, they're starting off on the 30-yard line. Rice, the starting quarterback. 3-receiver formation, a single back set. Perulis will lose a couple of yards on first down and 10. Rice is a 6'2" junior, 203 pounds. He's 12-6 as a starter at Utah. Here's a look at the Miller High Life backs and receivers, the skill positions. Perulis, Austin Lyman, Latendrus, and Hansen. All at the 29-yard line. Perulis, the guy that started last week, but did not get on track the way that they would have hoped running the ball. Second down and 11. 2 tight ends and 2 wideouts. Single back set. Rice on a play fake, going up top. Incomplete. Intended for Josh Lyman. Number 27, Drake, was back there at strong safety. Let's take a look at the guys up front. The All-American candidate is Jordan Gross. He's the leader up front, Bob.
Jordan Gross, Ron McBride said he is without a doubt the best offensive lineman in the Mountain West Conference. Going against this defensive front, responsible for quite a few sacks already this season, 15 in all.
Third down and 11. Situation they'll want to stay out of during the course of the afternoon. Split backs behind Rice. Under the heat. Completes the pass. And it's a first down to Devin Houston. Out at the 42-yard line. Houston was a key player late in the game last week against Arizona. Let's take a look at the Michigan linebackers. Victor Hobson, a guy they do a lot with, Bob. They do, Mark. He'll actually be the 4th rusher in their dime package. They use him as a defensive lineman up there running twist stunts. A very tough secondary. Curry and Jackson on the corners. Drake and June inside. First down and 10 from the 43-yard line. Perulis on the toss. Brought down about a yard behind the line of scrimmage. Perulis is a 6'1", 207-pound senior. Stopped up on the play, tried the left side of the offensive line behind Gross. Perulis came in for Marty Johnson, who was injured in the second game of the season and subsequently gone for the year, averaging a little over 5 yards a pop. They say he has 10.6 speed in the 100 meters, and they're going to try and get him to run downhill today. Second down and 11. Lyman in motion. It's Lyman. Made one guy miss. Brought down at the 44-yard line by Carl Diggs. Let's go to Reese Davis in the studio.
All right, Marty, just want to let you in on some of the games that we're going to be watching during the early part of this college football Saturday. Louisiana Tech and Penn State just about to kick off. Arizona and Wisconsin already have over on ESPN2. We'll be watching that for you in a great shootout down in Lubbock. North Carolina State and Texas Tech. And Texas Tech beat Ole Miss last week. Eli and the Rebels trying to bounce back against Vanderbilt. We'll keep you up to date, Mark.
All right, Reese, we're counting on you to do that. Third down and long again. Last time they were able to convert to the pass to Devin Houston. There's Rice. Has his man at midfield at the 50. Moa makes the catch. And it's short of the first down by about 3 yards.
Mark's second, third and long of the game for Utah. Interestingly, you see Michigan go to a dime defense with 6 defensive backs on the field. They actually use Marlon Jackson and Cato June as linebackers.
Well, Julius Curry back deep, calling for the fair catch. Curry feels it at the 18-yard line. And that's where John Navarre will start after that 32-yard punt. Navarre completing 53% of his passes, 6 touchdowns to go with 3 interceptions so far on the season. A look at the Miller highlight, backs and receivers behind him. Chris Perry, B.J. Askew. Edwards, the guy to keep an eye on among the receiving group. Braylon Edwards, a great wide receiver, but Benny Joffrey last week, 7 catches against Notre Dame. Askew in motion. Handed off to Perry, tries to cut it back, and he's brought down right at the line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage for Michigan, Morgan, Bass, Pearson, Truziello, and Pape. Pretty much a work in progress, Bob. They are, and I guess an indication that the center, Dave Pearson, was a defensive player at the start of spring practice. And the defensive line facing the best offensive line they've faced all season. I think people are going to enjoy watching Jason Kafusi. He reminds people of Luther Ellis, a first-round draft pick from Utah several years ago. Utah's defense, number 3 in the nation in rush defense. Navarre into the boundary, incomplete. It was dropped by Edwards. Let's take a look at those linebackers. 3 guys who, well, frankly, might have a shot at the pros someday. That's what their coaches feel about them anyway. Shelton Deckard, all Mountain West Conference last year, 25 years old, brings a lot of experience, but a lot of ability to the game. The secondary is going to be tested today, especially at the corners, Parker and Waits. Well, you already saw a key matchup, Arnold Parker on Braylon Edwards.
Arnold won the first matchup because Braylon dropped the ball.
Sets up a 3rd down and long for Michigan. Bellamy in motion. Number 19. Utah coming with pressure. And they bring Navarre down at the 22-yard line, and they brought some people on that play. It'll be 4th down, and Michigan will have to punt. Josh Savage in on the pressure.
Mark, you're going to see right here one of the disadvantages of not having a quarterback that's real mobile. For a brief second here, John Navarre has a chance to make a play, but he is not a mobile quarterback. Utah played man-to-man coverage. Michigan didn't make him pay for it with the quarterback scrambling.
Finley gets off a low line drive punt down at the 41-yard line, fielded immediately by Scally. A 37-yard punt, 3 yards on the return. Good field position for the Utes. When we come back, zeros on the scoreboard, and Utah with its 2nd offensive possession of the ball game. Houston in motion. They fake the reverse to him. Boy, Rice has a lot of time to throw. Took it under his wing. And is brought down at the 45-yard line, gaining about 3. Victor Hobson, the linebacker, making the stop on the play. Ron McBride in his 13th year at Utah, 10 winning seasons. He's won a share of 2 conference titles. He's 3-1 against Big Ten teams.
And I think you see Ron McBride's plan already going in. Throw it, razzle-dazzle when Michigan thinks you're going to run, and probably run it when Michigan thinks you're going to throw. They have to keep Michigan's defense off balance.
They ran into him in the hotel lobby earlier today. He seemed extremely loose. His crew ready to go. 2nd down and 7. This is the backup tailback, Brandon Warfield, number 5, the junior college transfer out of Kilgore, Texas.
One of the difficult things of throwing on 1st and 10, if it's not complete, it's 2nd and 10. And you try to get back on rhythm. Utah did a good job right there of picking up about 4.5 yards to at least to put them in a realistic 3rd down situation here.
See what they do here. Perulis back in the ball game for Warfield. They're going to try and get as many tailbacks in play as they can. Benton among the group. Split backs. Rice over the middle, complete to Lyman, but he is short of the 1st down by about 2 yards. Coming underneath the coverage. And it's 4th down and about 2 to go. Combs making the stop.
Something you're going to see here on 3rd and long. What drives you crazy as a coach? Get to the 1st down stakes. It was 3rd down and 5.5. Josh Lehman only ran a 4.5-yard route.
Murray brought down at the 17-yard line after that 39-yard punt. So it's been 3 punts so far in the ballgame. We'll be right back.
ESPN's presentation of college football, brought to you by the exciting lineup of Suzuki products, all proud presenting sponsors of the Heisman Trophy, and by Jack Daniel's Original Hard Cola, a premium malt beverage as unique as the people who drink it.
1st down and 10 for Michigan from its own 17-yard line. Split backs, and Navarre hands it off to B.J. Askew. And he is stopped up. Number 35, Dave Ravel. They have been trying to get over the hangover in their loss against Notre Dame. 4 turnovers, and Bob, it's tough to win when you give the ball up that much.
Mark, impossible. In a lot of ways, Michigan's biggest opponent or toughest opponent this week is themselves. They have to stop making the self-inflicted mistakes, and that happens on the practice field during the week. They're playing Utah. They're a good team, but they got to get Michigan off their own schedule right now.
2nd down and 9. A flag down on the play. Navarre incomplete. Broken up nicely that time by Cody Wade, intended for Butler. Flag down on the play. We'll wait and see what that's about. They've been talking about Notre Dame all week here. Still trying to let it go just a little bit. It's against Michigan. Let's go back for an update on Penn State. Reese?
Well, Mark, Joe Paterno dug into his old Brown playbook to find a way to get Michael Robinson involved. And Robinson's involved again, this time on the option. Look at the great play by Zach Mills to make somebody commit, give it up to Robinson, another touchdown. Nittany Lions on top of Louisiana Tech by a touch.
Bob, what was that, a little wing tee or something?
Well, Joe told us when we were up there 3 weeks ago, run your trick play early, before the other team runs their trick play.
Yeah, they got his. He dusted his off. 3rd down and 9. They declined the penalty. Nose of the ball at the 18-yard line. 2 tight end formation. Set up the screen to Askew, and he's got plenty of room ahead of him. And he's pushed out of bounds. They're going to mark it at the 30. DJ Askew, they can do a lot of different things.
Michigan has always been a great screen team, and you don't see it here in the picture, but they caught Utah in man-to-man coverage. They came in and picked the linebacker that had DJ Askew man-to-man. Big conversion on 3rd down. I look for Michigan to go up the top right here.
Just kind of setting things up a little bit. Askew with an 11-yard pickup for the 1st down. Butler couldn't hang on to it. He was working on Cody Waite.
Something you see as this game materializes, Michigan is doing a great job taking Braylon Edwards and lining him up in different locations so that Utah can't match up their corner, Arnold Parker, on him man-to-man. Here you see him in the stack position. Once again, trying to disguise where he aligns and make it difficult to match up.
Some of the workings of 1st-year offensive coordinator Terry Malone for Michigan. They get it right up the gut. Askew. And Askew with a 1st down out to the 50-yard line. They gashed them and gashed them big. Antoine Sanders made potentially a touchdown-saving stop.
B.J. Askew wanted to be a tailback when he came to Michigan. I think a lot of guys can run through that type of hole right there. Just a great job by the offensive line, great play call, and he almost took it to the house. Touchdown-saving tackle by Antoine Sanders.
This time they give it to Perry, who tries to get to the edge, dragged down by his collar by Dave Revel. You know, talking about Askew, as you mentioned, came to Michigan perhaps with dreams of becoming the 4th Heisman Trophy winner and being a tailback, but much to his credit, there he is, number 35. He's really bought into the fullback role. Now, Bob, how tough is that as a coach selling a kid on something like that?
Well, one thing you can see, Michigan moved him there, but they're going to get him the football. You've seen him catch a screen pass. You've seen him take a dive for a big game, and also they throw the ball out of the backfield a lot.
Keeping him happy. 2nd down and 9. Backs out of the eye. Edwards in motion. Navarre. His intended receivers were Bellamy and Edwards, who seemed to be knocked off their routes a little bit. Josh Savage was in the quarterback's face. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Lloyd wants that pass interference call, and we don't see it on a replay, but he had a good point right there. Michigan ran the crossing route with Braylon Edwards, and I think you're going to see it coming up late here on the replay. Here comes Braylon Edwards across the field, and you can't quite see the collision right there.
Sets up a 3rd down and long, right near midfield. Bellamy in motion. He's looking Butler's way, but it's tipped to the line of scrimmage, incomplete. Good pressure up front by the youth. Jason Kafusi was right in Navarre's grill that time. It'll be 4th down, and Michigan will punt. Hey, don't forget NFL primetime coming up Sunday night. It's the Bengals and the Falcons. Corey Dillon and the Bengal offense trying to get a track. And man, Michael Vick close in a couple games so far, but not quite good enough. 4th down and 9. A great punt by Finley, which will bounce into the end zone and come out to the 20-yard line. A 49-yard punt by Finley. Utah with possession when we come back.
This is your own
Zeros on the scoreboard here at Ann Arbor, Michigan Stadium. Well over 100,000 in attendance here today. And over the years, over 36 million have watched games at the Big House. Really an outstanding place on a Saturday afternoon. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey. Holly Rowe down to the field. 1st and 10. Utah with possession on its own 20. Perulis between the tackles gets out to the 21-yard line. Stopped up by Carl Diggs, middle linebacker. Perulis chose Utah after transferring because of some things that he didn't like at Arizona State. and then decided on Utah, one of the schools that had recruited him because of McBride's interaction with his players. Says he loves the way that Coach McBride relates to his troops.
I can understand that. He had his opportunity to start last week against Arizona. Very difficult team to run the football against Arizona. He only had 18 yards and 9 carries.
Second down and 9. Rice had the ball batted at the line of scrimmage. It'll be third down and long. And let's go back to Reese for an update on Pitt.
Mark, let's start with Rutgers in Pittsburgh. 4th and 1 for the Panthers. They're going to go to Brandon Myrie, and bada bing, John Seabrook stops him. The University of New Jersey stands tall. Louisiana Tech and Penn State. Boy, La Tech marched right down the field behind Luke McCown and the passing McCowns. Randy and Josh will be proud. Drops one in there on DJ Curry. We're tied at 7.
All right, but you can't sleep on Louisiana Tech, who averages over 400 yards a game in offense. Third and long. 9 to go for the Utes, and it's picked off by Michigan. Still on his feet, Curry. And Julius Curry inside the 10-yard line. First and goal for the Wolverines.
You're going to see Lance Rice really just makes a poor throw right here. Completely overthrows the receiver.
And Julius Curry did all the work after that.
Just a poorly thrown football right there. Julius Curry becomes an offensive football player right here and gives Michigan great field position early in the football game.
That was Rice's first interception. His 4th game of the season. Here's Askew in motion. They give it to Perry. And Perry is brought down to the 13-yard line. Maybe a gain of 1 on the play. Perry got out of the gate quickly this year, averaging over 105 yards rushing during the first 3 games to go along with 4 touchdowns on the season. Big Ten Player of the Week 3 weeks ago. Second down and 8.
Last year, Michigan did not have a run over 30 yards. Chris Perry took it personally. First carry this year, he went 57 yards.
Enough said. Second down and 8. Navarre hands it off to Perry again. Between the tackles down inside the 10-yard line. It'll be third down and about 5 to go for Michigan. Chris Perry started off well. You mentioned that, Bob, at 120 yards against Washington to go along with 3 touchdowns. Nice little combination, him and Askew in the backfield. A lot of versatility between the two of them.
Well, and I'm not sure that 235 pounds is really accurate, because they told us yesterday that he dropped about 15 pounds coming into this season. Actually, he's down to 220.
Deceptively fast. Third down and 5. Navarre batted down for the 2nd time in the ball game. This time it was Josh Savage that got a big paw up there and batted it down. It'll be 4th down, and in comes the field goal unit for Michigan.
Even though John Navarre is 6'6", he has an extremely low release. That is the 2nd ball that was batted today. He's 6'6", but he drops that football down. He gets a lot of balls batted.
And in comes Philip Brass, who is 2 of 6 on the season, hit the game winner against Washington a few weeks ago. This has been an adventure for Michigan this year. And they run a fake. He got the first down. Brabs at the 3. Whew! Lloyd Carr dusting off his trick book.
Phillips Brabs says, just give me the ball and I'll make the first down. Tremendously executed and blocked play. Right now, Utah, though, has to step up. And hold Michigan to 3 points right here.
First down and goal from the 3-yard line. Backs out of the offset eye. It's Perry. Tackled at the line of scrimmage by Jason Kaufusi, who's been a busy camper up front for Utah.
You are going to see the explosiveness of Jason Kaufusi. Here he is coming from the backside. They don't account for him. He has the kind of quickness to make plays from the backside.
First team All-Mountain West Conference a season ago. Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year in year 2000. One of several brothers who played prominently out in that conference several years ago. Second and goal. Perry up top, fumbled it. And Utah has the football.
One thing, you make a point all week of talking about turnovers. Sometimes it becomes an epidemic. Here, Chris Perry tries to go up over the top, and it's a tremendous effort by Chris Perry, but he does not secure the football. There you see the ball batted out. Utah does a tremendous job of scrambling around and coming up with the football.
We mentioned and chronicled the turnovers from last week against Notre Dame, and here again, Michigan turns it over.
Mark, as a coach, Lloyd Carr's thinking two things: the turnover bug, but also if I would have kicked the Shore field goal, I had 3 points. Sometimes the opportunity to score too much backfires on you.
Interesting perspective. First down and 10. Braz making a big play to give them first and goal, but unable to convert after the Utah turnover, the interception. Drake making the stop on the play, number 5, Brandon Warfield, who got his second carry of the ball game. A junior college transfer out of Kilgore, Texas. Ran for over 1,400 yards in junior college to go along with 22 touchdowns. Utah, Bob, a program that really feeds on the JC system.
Ron McBride's done a great job. A very diversified football team. A lot of Polynesian players. A lot of players that have done work in mission, back from mission work.
They're doing a great balancing act with those different variables. Second down and 8. Pressure from the backside. Rice got it off complete to the 20-yard line to Latendresse. Well, we welcome the men and women on board the USS Emery S. Land, watching today's game on the La Mandela in La Mandela, Italy, affiliate on American Forces Network. Thanks for your hard work over there, and we're hoping that you're enjoying this game. And we want to thank all the people domestically and abroad who are protecting all of our interests. Those are the true heroes out there. Third down and 10 for Utah. Rice to pass. Almost picked off for the second time today. Charles Drake, number 24, had it in his arms but couldn't squeeze. It'll be fourth down for the Utes.
Lance Rice needs to settle down right now. Look for Utah coaches next possession to do some short, controlled passing to get his confidence back a little bit. That should have been the second interception of the football game there. Charles Drake dropped it.
Julius Curry, number 26, standing at his own 44-yard line for Michigan. Brian Lewis to punt, averaging 38.8 coming into the game. An end-over-end returnable punt at the 40. And Curry is brought down near the 45, a 42-yard punt, and 4 yards on the return. College Football Saturday continues 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Southern Miss taking on Alabama. And at 7:45 right here on ESPN, it's College Football Saturday Night presented by the U.S. Postal Service. Boston College taking on number 1 Miami. Remember last year's game, it was incredibly close. Came down virtually to the last drive of the contest when Ed Reed took it back for a touchdown, saving the Canes. And Ken Dorsey really looking forward to this one. A little redemption for him. First down and 10 for Michigan. Navarre going up top. And a wonderful catch at the 10-yard line by Edwards. He got behind Parker on the play.
You're going to see great coverage right here by Arnold Parker on Braylon Edwards. But at the moment of truth, Arnold Parker does not look back for the football. One of the most difficult things to defend, an underthrown deep ball. The defensive back lost sight of the football that time. Braylon Edwards, big-time ability.
This is Bracken in the ball game, carrying it into the boundary, losing about a yard in the play. Antoine Sanders making the stop. Let's go back to Reese in the studio.
Mark, how about another peek at the Big Ten's leader in total offense and passing? Zach Mills of Penn State against Louisiana Tech. Little flip out there, and Larry Johnson's going to do the rest. 20 yards to the house, and Nittany Lion offense is in high gear. They're up 14-7, and Northwestern on top of Navy by a touchdown late in the first quarter.
Boy, what about Joe Pa? A little pigeon catch.
They have some weapons. They have some outstanding offensive personnel at Penn State.
Second down and 11 after the loss. Navarre into the end zone. Touchdown, Edwards. Michigan strikes first.
This is not the matchup you want if you're Utah. Antoine Sanders, their free safety, matched up on Braylon Edwards. He's not going to win that battle.
For John Navarre, it was his 34th career touchdown pass. And the 7th of the season. The extra point is good, as Brabs does the honor. It is a litany of great receivers in Michigan history. A number of them. Anthony Carter started it back in '79. Desmond Howard winning the Heisman Trophy up to 91. Derek Alexander. Amani Toomer now with the Giants. And Terrell, the latest first-round pick. Last year, Marquise Walker. And Braylon Edwards following right in that mold, Bob.
Well, once again, Utah in some ways made it easy on him because you're not going to cover him with a safety. Braylon Edwards took advantage of the matchup, and John Navarre looks like he has his confidence back. Early in the game, he was a little shaky.
Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, last year Braylon Edwards was a freshman, and his coaches say he was a real freshman. Sometimes his work ethic at practice wasn't what they were looking for, and they wouldn't let him travel. To his credit, he came back this year. He's matured as a player. They say he's the hardest working guy in practice now, and for his teammates to see him having success on the field, it's making everyone else around him work that much harder.
Yeah, Holly, good point. And he actually considered leaving Michigan last year, transferring, but his parents, including his father, Stanley, talked him out of it. The kick deep by Brabs, 7 yards deep. Crockett takes the knee, and Utah will start off on its own 20-yard line. Coach, how does McBride now and his offensive staff get Lance Rice untracked a little bit here? Get him a little confidence.
He has to throw the football to win this game. Ron McBride knows that. He has to get Lance Rice's confidence back. I think the best thing, some short, controlled passes early. Don't button it up and make him lose more confidence by simply just running the football.
And they say that he worked on his mechanics a lot during the offseason and that he's throwing the ball a lot harder and with more economy of motion, but it so far hasn't paid off today. 1.5 to go here in the first quarter. Michigan leading by a touchdown. Rice completes it for the first down. Devin Houston making the catch. Just what you were talking about.
And a good job right there of Lance Rice stepping up in pocket, being patient, let the curl route develop. And you can see right now he has the opportunity to run, but instead he throws it to Devin Houston. That has to help his confidence.
First down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Handed off to Perulis, and Perulis stopped up behind the line of scrimmage. Victor Hobson so active. 10 tackles last week against Notre Dame, and again leading the way here. That's the 3rd tackle for loss for Michigan today.
Victor Hobson is unique. He plays standing up as an outside linebacker. He also plays a lot as a defensive lineman up inside running twist stunts. He may be the strongest player on Michigan's team. Over a 400-pound bench presser.
Saw him before the game down to the field. He got a real body by Jake. 2nd down and 16. Rice with plenty of time. Complete to Lyman at the 37-yard line. Short of first down by about 4 yards. It'll be 3rd down and that much to go. Lyman, the team's leading receiver, coming in with 15 catches and 145 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Rice, a couple of nice completions on the last 2 throws.
The thing you like, they get it back to a workable 3rd down. It's 3rd down and 5. Just a second ago, it was 2nd and 15.
Well, that is the end of the first 15 minutes of play here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Rice trying to lead his team down to the field. They trail 7-0 when we come back. Third and 5 for Utah at its own 36. Rice sacked back at the 29-yard line by Shante Orr, among the leaders on sacks in the team. Let's take a look at our ESPN game track. Each team with a turnover so far. Michigan's turnover coming in the shadows of the end zone for Utah. But then they came right back, and Braylon Edwards with a touchdown reception made it 7-0. That's where we are right now. This is Curry back at the 27. Curry still on his feet all the way out to the 45-yard line. A 12-yard return after a 43-yard punt. College football coming up tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. Southern Miss taking on Alabama. And then on ESPN at 7:45 Eastern time, Ken Dorsey, the #1 Hurricanes, taking on Boston College. As I mentioned last year, these two teams played a very, very close competitive game. And Dorsey's been looking and talking about redemption all week down in the Miami papers. First down and 10. Quick slant incomplete to Edwards. The guy with sure hands in the studio is Reese Davis. Right, Reese?
Mark, I have plenty of stick 'em. Louisiana Tech and Penn State, you know, they call this Happy Valley. Happy does not apply to the defensive coordinators in this game. Luke McCown firing out there to Chris Norwood and set up a field goal at 14-10 in the first.
Boy, that game looking like basketball with shoulder pads on Coach Dave. Second down and 10. Navarre into the boundary. Complete to Tyrese Butler.
The problem Ron McBride has right now, even though Utah's on offense, he's concerned about rushing the football with some degree of success against Michigan. Last week against Arizona, they ran the ball 22 times, only 32 yards rushing. There you see the rushing stats from the first quarter. So even though they're on defense, he's one step ahead. He's thinking, how do I keep Michigan off my quarterback and be able to rush the football a little bit?
Looking for a little bit of balance. Third down and 5. Navarre incomplete that time. Came back to the same receiver, Butler. And it'll be fourth down for the Wolverines near midfield.
One thing you see, when you have a quarterback that's not mobile, you bring the house on him. You bring the house and you dare him to flush out of there. Once again, you see John Navarre dropping the football down a little bit in that low release.
Garrett Smith, one of the guys leading the way there up front for Utah. Finley with a high spiral coming down at the 13-yard line. And Morgan Scalley is brought down immediately after that 37-yard punt. Utah with the ball, still trying to get to the scoreboard when we come back. First down and 10 for Utah. On its own 13-yard line. Single back set. And Rice completes it into the boundary to Latendresse. And you know what, you can't really say enough about the loss of Marty Johnson, who was the NCAA's leading rusher, Bob, after 2 weeks.
Well, the impact of these statistics will tell you. They had 282 yards against Utah State rushing. They had 386 against Indiana. Without the tailback, they had 32 yards rushing against Arizona. So the impact is shown by just those statistics right there.
Second down and 3. Little draw play, that's Benton. They're doing it by committee without Johnson out to the 23-yard line. And boy, that kind of feeds into the loss of Marty Johnson, some of the close battles that they've had over the last
well, I think you see what a good football coach Ron McBride is, because he doesn't panic and just abandon his plan. He wants to run the football. He wants to play great defense. You see right there on that graphic how many close games they've been involved in. He doesn't want to become BYU right now and start throwing the football. That's not his style.
Hey, BYU, that's a 4-letter word around Salt Lake City now. Watch it.
I think we got Holly's attention down there on the sidelines with him.
First down and 10. Warfield back in the ball game, and Warfield stopped up right at the 25-yard line. Let's go back to Reese in the studio.
All right, Mark, Wisconsin for the last 3 games, they failed to produce a 100-yard rusher. Haven't seen a lot of Anthony Davis. All of a sudden, Arizona sees a lot of Anthony Davis breaking tackles and bullying his way into the end zone. Badgers up by a touchdown. North Carolina State and Texas Tech. Red Raiders on the march. Dorian Henderson, the redshirt freshman, making nice moves. And the Red Raiders are up by a touchdown.
I think there's going to be some points in that NC State-Texas Tech game. I think that will be a shootout out there in Lubbock.
Yeah, Rivers, for NC State, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and we have an injured player down in the field. Chris Kimoatu of Utah, the starting left guard. But, Bob, just to follow up a little bit more on the running game for the Utes, when you lose Marty Johnson, is it too late in the season, or do you even think about changing your scheme at all?
I don't think you do, Mark, and I don't think Ron McBride will. The problem he has he can't fall too far behind in this football game. But if he can stay on track and keep it a 7-10 point game, he stays with his plan. And you see him alternating different running backs in the football game right now. One thing you know about a Ron McBride football team, they're going to be physical.
The challenge ahead for both Michigan and Utah is the fact that last week they were both extremely disappointed, the result of some very controversial calls. In the Utah game at Arizona in the desert in Tucson, there appeared to be a complete touchdown pass to Josh Lyman in the end zone. Here's a look at it. And this is what has left everyone a little bit on edge. First of all, Michigan, Carlisle Holiday appeared to fumble right there. The ball looked to be loose, but the officials ruled it a touchdown. And that led to the Michigan defeat. Then here's the Utah-Arizona game. Lyman, on the game's last drive, appeared to have that right knee inside the boundary, but it was ruled incomplete, out of bounds, and Arizona hung on to win. 2nd down and 9. Both teams a little bit salty and upset right now. Lyman trying to get deep, and it's incomplete.
Mark, one thing, if we go back to those controversial calls last week, that's a part of college football. And there's an old saying, it's not the bad things that happen to you that's important, it's how you react. And I think that's why this is such a test today for these two football teams. They did have adversity, but you can either sit back and feel sorry for yourself and worry about those calls or move on. And it will all balance out over the course of a season. And I know Lloyd Carr, that Notre Dame game is over right now. He's worried about the Utah Utes.
Average yards to go on 3rd down has been very, very high for both teams. Rice incomplete to Latendresse, brought down at the 36-yard line, and he got just enough for the 1st down. So Rice enjoying a little bit of success on this drive, albeit early in the drive. Last year, Rice, a guy who didn't really have the total support of the team.
You're going to see Latendresse matched up right now on Zia Combs, number 31, who comes in their dime package. They move their 2 starting corners inside to be the nickel and a dime. Zia Combs comes off the bench, and Utah went after him.
They run it this time. This is Warfield. Warfield luckily got back to the line of scrimmage near the 35-yard line. Started to talk about Rice and how last year there were some people that thought that he should not have been the starting quarterback, others that thought he should have been the starting quarterback, and sometimes that doesn't always work out best for the team. Some people thought Elliott should have been the guy.
Well, what complicates things even more, his grandfather's name, his name is on the stadium at Utah. So there's always a little inherent risk of people being against you because your name's on that stadium. It just makes him compete that much harder, though.
Yeah, that's a little bit of pressure on you. Rice back to pass, threw behind his intended receiver, Latendresse. And for more on Rice, let's go downstairs to Holly.
Well, guys, Lance Rice was a very accomplished high school football player in Utah, throwing for over 500 yards in one game. But because he wanted to go on a Mormon mission, he didn't get the scholarship offers that he would have liked to. So when Ron McBride came to him and offered him a scholarship, he said, "Now, Coach, is this because of my family, the name on the stadium?" Ron McBride said, "No, it's not. This is too important a deal for that. Lance has worked so hard, he just won't give away this job." That's what the coaches say.
A good point, Holly. 3rd down and 11. They come with a blitz, and he gets it off complete to Paris Jackson. Short of the 1st down at the 42-yard line. About 4 yards to go for the 1st down.
A good decision here by Michigan again, coming with the all-out blitz on 3rd down, and Jeremy Lesor comes up and makes the tackle short of the 1st down stakes. Good call right there by Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, just flat coming after him.
Lewis with a line drive punt, actually a high one. Short of the 20, all the way up near the 30, a 29-yard punt only. We'll be back right after this.
This week on Sunday NFL Countdown, the Patriots have
ESPN's presentation of college football, brought to you by GM Goodwrench Service Plus, your automotive service experts, and by the flame-broiled Whopper from Burger King, America's favorite burger. At BK, you got it.
Hey, Bob Davey, you don't think that Michigan players are a little jacked up and geeked up to go before the game?
I saw you in the middle of that down there. We were standing right by that. For an old basketball player, you got ahead of yourself a little bit there and jumped in.
I wish. Here's Edwards with the reception. All the way out to the 38-yard line, near a first down for Michigan. Braylon Edwards already with a touchdown catch in the ball game. 6'3", a good-sized target.
Mark, can you talk about Michigan's offense? An interesting statistic. Last year, John Navarre had more pass attempts in a single season than any other Michigan quarterback. But the negative side, they averaged 359 yards a game, the lowest they've averaged per game since 1985. So they threw it, but they weren't real productive.
Yeah, the coaches felt they didn't put him in a position to succeed as well as they could have. He completes this pass out to the 42-yard line to Calvin Bell. And let's go to Reese in the studio.
Wisconsin's been making a living on turnovers, plus 11 in turnover category, but this time it's the special teams against Arizona. Alex Lewis storming through there, getting a hand on the punt nicely. Set up Anthony Davis's second touchdown of the game, and the Pac-10 has been great. Down 14-0.
All right, John Makovic, the coach of Arizona, back in familiar territory in the Big Ten. Former coach of Illinois. First down and 10. And here's Underwood getting his opportunity out to the 45-yard line. And Terry Malone is the new offensive coordinator for Michigan. And he says that this is really an offense that has 12 kind of average, 11 average guys. No real true superstar, but it's working for him.
Well, I think one's emerging. I think number 80, Braylon Edwards, is a superstar in the making. But you see the balance in Michigan's offense. 14 passes, 12 runs so far in this football game.
Second down and 9. Edwards in motion. Butler makes the catch at the 49-yard line. Gain of about 4 on the play. We're here at Ann Arbor, Michigan. Number 14 Wolverines taking on the Utah Utes. First ever meeting between these two teams. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. And when you look at the average starting field position, definitively in favor of Michigan so far.
And combine that with the third down yardage to go, Utah is way behind. But explain to me what Ron McBride meant when he said Michigan is a symphony crowd.
It means they take things very quietly here. They all stand up at the same time and clap, and they all sit down in unison too. Fans here don't seem to mind. They don't seem that fired up. Edwards again short of the 50-yard stripe. Braylon Edwards, a big day so far. Started off with that big catch.
If you want to get a quarterback's confidence back, throw the ball up to Braylon Edwards. Second thing, get Braylon Edwards on a safety. Those two things are going to put a smile on John Navarre's face.
Morgan Scalley back to receive this punt for Utah. And a great punt by Adam Finley, who came to Michigan as a place kicker. This one goes into the end zone, a 50-yard punt. It'll come back out to the 20-yard line. 7-0 when we come back. Two guys don't seem that interested in what's happening on the field, but somewhat symbolic of the crowd here at Michigan. A little bit quiet, very quiet for 107,000.
And a little surly right now. Coming off the loss last week to Notre Dame in a close ball game.
Rice keeps it and falls forward to the 25-yard line. Well, when you compare Rice-Eccles Stadium to Michigan Stadium, there really isn't that much of a comparison. 107 plus and comparatively just a little over 45 at Rice-Eccles, but sometimes that 107 sounds like 45. Pass complete, about 2 yards short of the first down. Holly, when we were walking, we saw some tailgaters listening to classical music and sipping on Chardonnay.
I mean, it was 4 guys out there with the barbecue. I was a little stunned myself, but you know, when Ron McBride made those comments earlier, I thought that it would really rile up the crowd, that they would be loud and really harass the Utah bench. But it is not the case. They're sitting down. It's so quiet. I can hear individual people talking in the crowd, guys.
Hey, if we're quiet enough, we can listen in on the huddles. 3rd down and 2. Powering over the right side. The Utah running game appears to be a little bit short. Perulis right near that 30-yard strike. And it appears as if he's come up a little bit short. Perulis came into the game averaging a little over 5 yards per rush, but has not gotten untracked so far. 4th down and 1. Lewis into punt for the 6th time today. He gets off a high spiral with the wind at his back. Curry back at the 23. Out to the 34, a 12-yard return after that 49-yard punt. Later today, folks, hey, be sure to join ABC Sports for more great college football action. 3:30, Tyrone Whittingham will lead number 12 Notre Dame into East Lansing. Hey, just up 94 West here to take on his alma mater, Michigan State. And other regional action. ABC Sports, the class of college football. What about that Virginia Tech A&M game? That's going to be interesting.
Can Virginia Tech line up and run the football against Texas A&M defense in Kyle Field? But mark that 3rd and 1 right there that Utah didn't convert. That would have been a key conversion there before the end of the half.
And here's a play fake. Complete out near midfield to Edwards once again. And let's go to Reese in the studio.
Mark, Louisiana Tech, Penn State continuing to run up and down the field. 2nd and 7 play. Luke McCown, watch the way the Bulldogs get this screen block for Commission Davis. He's going to rip it all the way inside the 5, but the Nittany Lions defense, now that that spread offense didn't have as much room to operate, they rise up. 19-yard field goal. Josh Scobie, Dobie, didn't. 14-10. Penn State's now on the move.
Edwards has made 5 catches for a total of 80 yards here. And here's Askew running through a couple of would-be tacklers down to the 37-yard line. Another Michigan 1st down.
You're going to see right here that the defensive end gets up the field. He's thinking more bootleg or reverse coming right here, and he doesn't close, and B.J. Askew cuts it back. That's one of the reasons teams run those fake reverses, is to make that defensive end honor the reverse coming his way. B.J. Askew on the cutback, once again showing that tailback ability.
Still in the ball game, along with Bracken this time out of the offset eye. This is Bracken. Bracken breaking one. Breaking one off all the way down to the 25-yard line, and another Michigan 1st down. They're on the move.
Michigan does a great job of running the power. Here you're going to see the backside tackle pulling around on the linebacker. The linebacker has to make a decision right here whether to spill it or not. They crease him inside, and a well-executed play by Michigan. Once again, Mark, I go back to the not making the 3rd down conversion on 3rd and 1 a moment ago, or Utah still has the football.
Huge discrepancy in rushing yardage so far. That's Bracken once again, and let's go back to Reese in the studio.
Did I mention Penn State was on the move? How do you like this ratio? Last 6 times, Monty Robinson's carried the football. He scored 4 touchdowns. That's pretty good. Penn State on top of La Tech now, 21-10.
Man, what next from Joe? The spread?
Well, they told us he is 230-some pounds. Yeah. They love what Northwestern did with the running quarterback, and Joe said you have to get him in the game.
Look forward to covering Penn State against Iowa next week. Noon here on ESPN. There's Bracken getting his opportunities and touches inside the 20 to the 19. Brought down by Marcus Jones, a 6'2 senior.
The Michigan coaches really like Tim Bracken. They said he does a great job. He has great feet, and he can take a short play and turn it into a long play. And you see a little bit of his ability right there.
And Chris Perry, interestingly enough, Bob, hasn't been back in the ballgame since he fumbled down by the goal line. 3rd down and 5. Edwards in motion to the top of your screen. It's going Edwards' way. Couldn't hang on to it. Braylon Edwards got in behind Cody Wade in the end zone, but it's incomplete.
Once again, you're going to see another way of getting Braylon Edwards on a matchup. Here you're going to see him matched up on Cody Wade instead of Arnold Parker. They gave Arnold Parker a break right here. But once again, the explosiveness and big play ability of Braylon Edwards.
In for a field goal now is Brabs. He's 2 of 6 on the season. They faked the last attempt and ran for the 1st down. Brabs doing the honors. This one is up. And he knocks it through. Now 3 of 7 on the season. taking a little bit of the suspense out of the Michigan field goal kicking game. A 37-yarder, and Michigan leads 10-0. Welcome back, everyone, to Ann Arbor. Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe, 10-0, and John Navarre likes what he hears, no doubt, on the other end of the phone after that field goal. Philip Brab's now 3 of 7 on the season. He hit the game winner against Washington, hit a 19-yard field goal against Notre Dame last week, had a good week of practice. Troy Nineberg, also a place kicker, has struggled, but that last field goal took a little bit of drama out of the field goal duties. And let's go back to Reese in the studio.
Down in the SEC, Mark, pardon me, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt, but Sean Pearson will go in for the touchdown, but the Rebels have more significant problems. Doug Ziegler, their all-SEC caliber tight end, was carried off the field, which looked to be a serious leg injury. It's 10-0 Ole Miss. Northwestern on top of Navy, 21-14. They're getting deep in the first half of that game.
Mark, did you notice kind of a sigh of relief when Philip Brab made that field goal a few moments ago?
Yeah, that's about the loudest this crowd's been today, too. First down and 10. Rice, 11 of 17 passing. Looking for the home run. Pretty much threw that one up for grabs. Marlon Jackson back there on defense, and so far today, the defense has been pretty stout.
Michigan last week, the problem they had was giving up big plays. They seem to have remedied that a little bit. Michigan last year led the NCAA in sacks with 50. It's obvious right now Utah is having a tough time running the football. Too many third and longs. Michigan tees off, particularly when they get to this dime package. And Victor Hobson's a guy they do a lot of things with.
Second down and 10. Over the middle, incomplete. Intended for Larry Miles, and it'll be third down and long, the position that Utah does not want to be in.
And Larry Miles had a chance right there to make a play to get them back on rhythm. But those third down conversions, 2 for 9, but the telling stat is average yards to go, 8.3. Very difficult against a team like Michigan that has such a multiple third down defensive package.
If you're Coach Herman, the defensive coordinator for Michigan, you're thinking about maybe getting your guys to pin their ears back now and come. Third down and long. They have yet to give up the big play today. Out of the backfield, and a great tackle off the edge on Benton by number 31, Isaiah Combs. That was Herman on the sideline. Yeah.
Tremendous play by Isaiah Combs. Tremendous read right here by Isaiah Combs. He's out there just playing a flat technique. Great job of reacting to the play, and a tremendous tackle. And you see the enthusiasm of Isaiah Combs, who his opportunity to play is in that dime package.
Curry made one guy, now 2 miss. Curry pushed out of bounds on Utah's side of midfield at the 42-yard line, a 39-yard punt. And a nice return coming up on the Nivea for Men halftime report. Reese and Trev Alberts in the studio. Highlights from early Big Ten action. Trev looks at the top quarterbacks in the nation, and the Game Day Gang previews the big Florida-Tennessee game. Who do you like in that one, Bob?
I like Tennessee.
Like Tennessee?
Because of the schedule. They played Wyoming, Middle Tennessee. Didn't play great, but they had an open date last week to solve all their problems and get ready for the Gators.
I'm going to go the other way on that one. I think that Florida's ready for a big performance. First down and 10. Navarre sacked back at the 48-yard line. Josh Savage, number 44, coming off the edge, applying the pressure.
Big play for Utah right now, and a great call on defense by Kyle Whittingham. He comes with the blitz on 1st and 10, expecting Michigan to be going for the throat right there for the play with the play action, trying to get the play. Even though it was 1st and 10, Kyle Whittingham, the defensive coordinator, played pass because he knew that Michigan would go for the jugular right there and try to get the big play.
Sets up a second down and 15, Bob, for Navarre on the offense. This time he escapes. Well, he doesn't run often, but Navarre out of bounds near the 30 for the Michigan first down. An 18-yard gallop by John Navarre.
John Navarre is another Michigan player like Chris Perry that lost weight this year. And you see John Navarre, who was 245 pounds, now down to 220. And he's like one of those NFL guys, and he got their attention. Look, they've turned around and joined the action right here.
Not looking outside the stadium anymore like they were a few minutes ago. First down and 10. This is Bracken in a tailback. Inside the 30 to the 29-yard line. Last week offensively against Notre Dame, Michigan really struggled. Not the case this afternoon, though.
A lot of hidden things in that statistic right there, though, from last week. They had some huge penalties. They roughed the punter on 4th down against Notre Dame. They couldn't get off the field on defense. They gave up some big plays. So equally as inept as the offense was, as those statistics show, the defense didn't help them last week.
Second down and 9 now. Bellamy in motion. Pressure coming off the corner. They run the screen to Askew. Slipped him out of the backfield, and Askew brought down at the 26-yard line by Jeremy Lyman. You have to love the different things number 35 does for the offense.
And I mentioned earlier, Michigan always has been, always will be a great screen team. And they come back to B.J. Askew. You're going to see a great effort here, though, from inside out by Jeremy Lyman that kept that thing boxed in a relatively short game because that screen was set up.
They are just on the edge of field goal range for Brabs at the 26-yard line now. Out of the shotgun, Navarre. Edwards split to the bottom of your screen. Poor snap, and Navarre pounces on the loose ball back at the 38. And that effectively may have taken them out of field goal range.
Some way Michigan has to get Michigan off their own schedule. They're their biggest opponent right now.
Any idea what that signal may have been, Bob?
Well, I hope it wasn't snapping on the ground because I think the center went ahead and read it that way.
Yeah. Loss of 11 yards. Pearson, the center, and the snapper on that last play. 4th and 17. They'll have to punt.
Once again, Pearson, a defensive player until spring practice.
Finley had it bounce at the 3. And Reese, tell us what's going on at halftime.
Well, Mark, coming up on the Nivea for Men halftime report, it is a bounce-back Saturday for many teams in the Big Ten, and Wisconsin is doing just that so far against Arizona. Some big-time quarterbacks, including a couple going head-to-head in Lubbock, and we'll check in with the game day guys, see if they're dried out after a rainy morning in Knoxville. We'll see you in a bit.
Well, I think they can expense some umbrellas down there in Knoxville, right? Lee and Kirk and Chris. First down and 10 with under a minute to go. 33 seconds to go here in the first half. The first half in which Utah has yet to score so far. They have struggled running the ball. Example right there, Exhibit A. Brandon Warfield gaining about 2 on the play. They've tried Warfield, they've tried Benton, they've tried Perulis, and neither of them has had much success running the ball.
And you see Michigan with 3 timeouts left puts the pressure right back on Ron McBride. He said, look, you don't have great confidence right now in your offense. I'm going to put it back on you and make you execute to get out of this first half.
Time for a quick break.
You got me spinning. My bell is ringing. It's making my
Michigan calling a timeout after Brandon Warfield gained about 4 yards, and a Michigan player down in the field. Back at the 13-yard line, that's Shante Orr, number 53, the starting defensive end, a key member of their defensive front.
Something you see developing right now, Michigan using their second timeout, 19 seconds left in the first half. Michigan through the years, and particularly last year, a great punt block team. Last year they blocked 5 punts. This year they've already blocked 3 field goals. And Shante Orr is one of those great blockers.
Yeah, last week he blocked a field goal attempt against Notre Dame. Let's look what happened.
You're going to see Shante Orr at the bottom of your screen. It looks to me right there, you can't see what happened late if the offensive tackle came in on him, but it looked like just his right knee gave out on him a little bit.
Shante Orr, one of the leaders up front, along with Romashek and Hoyer and Lazarus. In fact, the whole defensive front has a great group of chemistry between them. Romashek and his roommates often inviting the rest of the defensive guys over for a lot of macaroni and cheese dinners and get together and have PlayStation 2 tournaments, and it shows on the field.
Mark, that's something people may not understand that just watch college football every Saturday, is how much these players have invested. They stay here all summer. They're here over Christmas break, over spring break, when all the other students go home. There's a tremendous bond that's developed amongst these players. They truly are family. They spend all their time together.
11 brothers up front on that defensive front. 3rd down and 5 for Utah. Rice hands it off. This is Warfield again. Bounced off a couple of would-be tacklers with 10 seconds to go. And the clock stops. Ball at the 27 as Michigan calls its final timeout of the half. And we're going to take a timeout with them. 10-0 when we come back.
What makes the University of Utah different from other universities?
4th down and 3, and Utah comes into punt. Brian Lewis going to do the honors once again, and he's been a busy camper today.
Mark, I'm a little bit surprised that Michigan doesn't have their 11th guy up and just abandon having the returner back there. And you'd think they may come after him with all 11 right here.
And they ran into the punter. A flag is down. Curry catches it back at his own 30. Brought down at the 41, an 11-yard return after that 43-yard punt. Calvin Bell was the player that ran into the punter.
That is Michigan's 3rd roughing the punter penalty this year. Last year they blocked 5 punts and didn't rough the punter. But here you're going to see Calvin Bell coming from the outside, lays out, and there's no question you see right here that he roughed the punter. Once again, you have to go at an angle in front of the punter, expecting the release point of where the ball is going to come after the foot. He went right at the punter that time.
From the defense, the penalty is declined. Halftime.
Well, the first 2 quarters are in the books. Lloyd Carr's team leading by a score of 10-0, shaking off the disappointment from last week. Who will bounce back after the next half? Right now, back to the studio.
Mark, your partner, Bob Davey, I believe, hit it right on the head. The Wolverines have to find a way to get themselves off their own schedule. Again, having problems, but still up 10-0. Glad to have you with us on the Nivea for Men halftime report. Let's start down in the SEC. Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Michigan, perhaps playing hail to the victors. It's hail to the leaders at the half. Wolverines up by 10. For some Wolverine mistakes. Glad to have you with us. And in Knoxville, Julius Curry coming up with the pick for Michigan. That's Rice, an ill-advised throw. The Wolverines on top of the Utes, 10-0 at the break. Nivea for Men halftime report. We are at halftime in the Big House. Michigan on top of Utah, 10-0. A little bit later on this afternoon in another large house in Knoxville. It'll be Tennessee and Florida. Here are the College Game Day guys.
About 13.
We have a second half coming. John Navarre, Braylon Edwards, his new favorite target. Michigan's on top of Utah. We'll update some scores when we come back on the Nivea for Men halftime report.
This halftime report presented by Nivea for Men Aftershave Balm. More evolved skincare.
MAC team top of the midshipmen. We have a second half coming from the Big House. Michigan and Utah, second half coming.
Back here in Ann Arbor, Michigan on a beautiful late summer afternoon. Number 14, Michigan leading Utah in the first meeting ever between these two teams. Score 14-0. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey. Holly Rowe down on the sidelines. Bob, coming into the game, everybody talked about this being bounce back Saturday for both Utah and Michigan. Both teams big time disappointments last week. Do you think the questions have been answered, especially by Michigan?
Well, when you talk about bounce back, Michigan's bounced back about as much as my vertical jump. We'll call it a baby bounce right now. But they've done some good things. Their defense has played well. Anytime you can shut a team out. Braylon Edwards, even though Michigan's a little one-dimensional, you see the capabilities of Braylon Edwards right now.
Yeah, coming into the game, had an opportunity to speak with some of the Utah coaches who said, hey, forget about the big house. We came here to bang, but so far not getting much bang for their buck, especially in the running game. They have been unable to generate many yards on the ground, and that remains one of the challenges ahead here in the second half for the Utes.
Utah with 10 yards rushing in the first half. 84 total yards. Those statistics show you just how anemic they were offensively.
Utah will kick off. Michigan receiving here in the second half. And Michigan will start off from its own 21. Bob, look at our ESPN game track.
Utah, that's a great way to say it. Offensive woes. 84 total yards. 2 of 11 on third down. Third down average for third down 7.7. Braylon Edwards, Michigan had 185 total yards. Braylon Edwards had 80. That's 43% of Michigan's offense. Michigan is one-dimensional. The problem is Utah right now is zero-dimensional on offense.
First down and 10. Navarre hands it off to his tailback. That's number 41, Tim Bracken. The sophomore brought down to the 20-yard line. Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Guys, I spoke with Lloyd Carr, the head coach for Michigan, right before halftime ended, and he said that Shante Orr will not return for the team. He does have a knee injury. They will update us after the game. But that is tough news for them, not only on their defensive front, but what he does on special teams with the block kicks. I also asked him if he's continuing to punish Chris Perry because of the fumble. He just smiled, but we see Tim Bracken get the early carries. For Ron McBride, he told his kids in the locker room, believe. You have to find a way to believe that somehow you can find a way to win this game.
Big challenge ahead for them, Holly. Second down and 8. Askew in the flat makes the nice catch for the first down. Pushed out of bounds at the 40-yard line by Cody Waite. And Michigan moves the chains on their first offensive series here in the third quarter of play.
You are going to see Utah in an 8-man front, and they line up and they're going to play man-to-man coverage with the linebacker on B.J. Askew. The problem, there's a play-action fake that freezes him. He gets picked a little bit by the tight end. B.J. Askew wide open. They beat the man-to-man coverage with the play-action pass. That's tough on a linebacker when he has hard play-action in his face.
A 19-yard pickup, and the give is to Askew once again. Out to the 45-yard line that time. B.J. Askew, a good receiver out of the backfield. Runs well between the tackles and also can get to the edge a little bit. But, Bob, let's talk back a little bit about something Holly mentioned. Perry on the bench may be the result of the fumbles. Do you risk losing a guy if you punish him like that?
You see two different philosophies. Some coaches' philosophy, if a real good player like Chris Perry makes a mistake, he didn't try to do it. Get him back in the game and get his confidence back. On the other side, Michigan made such an emphasis about no turnovers this week. Lloyd Carr decided to set him down.
Navarre fires incomplete that time, and it's batted down. Yeah, a very tough, fine line to walk if you're the coach.
What you are going to see again is the low release by John Navarre, and Jason Kafusi knocks down another pass. That's 3 passes knocked down. You would never think that a 6'6" quarterback would have that problem, but he has an extremely low release.
Interesting point, and look who's back in the ball game. Number 23, Chris Perry, on third down and 6. At an average of about 6.5, 6.6 to go on third down today. Over the head of Askew, and it's incomplete. Michigan will punt. Had Askew open.
Obviously, John Navarre overthrows this ball to B.J. Askew, who's wide open in the flat. But what I think about right now, what a great momentum opportunity for Utah right now. They have to take advantage of what looks like it's going to be pretty good field position.
6th punt of the afternoon for Finley. Gets off a pretty good one. Scally back at his own 12. Got a nice block, still on his feet. Scally finally dragged down at the 33-yard line. A 21-yard return after a 43-yard punt. And College Football Saturday continuing 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Southern Miss led by running back Derek Nix taking on Alabama. Then at 7:45 Eastern time right here on ESPN, College Football Saturday night presented by the U.S. Postal Service with Boston College taking on #1 Miami. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Keyword schedule.
You'll probably get back in Miami to see the end of that game tonight.
Yeah, I think I will there, partner, or at least the fourth quarter. Jump on the plane right after this one. First down and 10. Rice back to pass. Hits his tight end, Ben Moa, his second reception of the game out near the 40-yard line. About 4 yards short of the first down. Important to get Rice into a bit of a rhythm here, huh, Bob?
Utah, interesting, has not crossed midfield this football game. This may be their best opportunity. They have to seize this momentum right now.
Second down and 5. Movement up front. Lazarus pointing at the offensive line, saying he was dragged offside.
Have you ever seen a defensive lineman
Prior
yet?
to the snap,
No.
offside, defense.
That is the first penalty, Bob, interestingly enough, of the day.
You're going to see Lazarus right there. And right now he's thinking one thing. Brady Hoke, the defensive line coach, and Lloyd Carr. I'm going to start explaining that the offense moved.
Both these teams were hurt by penalties last week, but this week playing a much better game in that respect. Perulis couldn't get to the edge, brought down a yard behind the line of scrimmage at the 43 by Diggs.
An amazing statistic. They solved one problem today, both teams. Utah penalized 11 times last week at Arizona, Michigan 10 times at Notre Dame, and that was the first penalty of this football game.
Unbelievable. Stevens in the ball game in place of Shante Orr at defensive end on second down and 11. Lyman split wide to the bottom of your screen. It's a 3-receiver formation and a flag now. What were we saying about penalties?
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty.
One thing I've learned about this broadcasting, don't always say what you think, because it never fails. When you make a great point, you're going to come back and get burnt.
It's right there in the manual.
Once again, Victor Hobson up on the line of scrimmage, a linebacker. That's tough on these offensive blocking schemes. When a linebacker is used as a defensive lineman, I didn't really see the offensive lineman move, but obviously Victor did.
Moa in motion. There's a little receiver screen. Jailbait screen, right? Check Football 101 on ESPN.com. It's all there for you. Bob Davie with this week's lesson in football. And Bob, I went through all of them. The jailbreak screen and the bubble screen. And I learned the difference between the two. I read through that thing a couple times. You made it easy for me, man.
I'm not embarrassed. I'll take free publicity anytime you give it to me. But what made me nervous this morning was when you asked me what's the difference between the bubble and the jailbreak screen.
The jailbreak, the linemen go downfield.
It's like the jailhouse is opening and all the linemen just come charging out of the jail.
Well, there you go. On third down and 16 now. Utah looking for any play that'll work. What a catch by Lyman, and then he was knocked loose. He went up and seemed to have it for just a split second, and then Marlon Jackson, right there, number 3, knocked it loose.
The first chance we've had to talk about Marlon Jackson, number 3. But there you see him on the screen. Great play of breaking on the football. And then you see the linebacker, number 37, Zach Kaufman, come in and knock the ball out. But once again, Utah shoots themselves in the foot with the penalty.
Ninth punt of the day goes into the end zone for Brian Lewis, and we're going to go to break. 10-0, Utah still in this ball game when we come back. Michigan's John Navarre looking at first down and 10 from his own 20-yard line. His team leading 10-0. Going up top. Incomplete. Intended for Edwards. This is the last non-conference game for both teams before they begin their conference schedules, and Utah had a rather aggressive non-conference portion of the schedule, Bob. The last two.
I agree. I visited with Chris Hill, their athletic director, a little bit before the game, and they're going to continue to do this. You see two Big Ten teams on that schedule, and you see also a Pac-10 team in Arizona. Next year they have, I believe, Oregon, Cal, and Texas A&M comes on the schedule in the near future. But they have the kind of facilities, and they're taking the direction in the program. They feel they can go play those kind of teams.
Out pattern complete to Edwards. Does a little shake out to the 27-yard line where he's tackled. Michigan, meanwhile, with a stacked and packed non-conference schedule as well. Last week, Notre Dame, the first week of the season against Washington, a very difficult opponent, and Utah this week.
And Western Michigan, who's a rival for Michigan in that they're so close in proximity. That as well as an aggressive non-conference schedule, particularly when you think this Utah game was originally Oregon until last February the switch was made.
Third down and 3. Both teams tuning things up for conference play. Complete to the playmaker. The first down out to the 36-yard line. Braylon Edwards. His father, Stanley, former player here at Michigan and in the NFL. Emerging as a real quasar.
I think up the road at Michigan State, they talk about Charles Rogers, and everyone around this country knows him. I also see Braylon Edwards, number 80, almost in that same category. He's making a big statement right now, and another big third down conversion.
First down and 10 for the Wolverines. LeVar hands it off to Perry, who's back in the ball game. Gains about 2 yards out to the 38.
Utah, for the most part, has done a very good job stopping the run. If you take B.J. Askew's couple runs out of the one-back set on the cutback, Michigan has had difficulty, particularly out of a two-back set, running the football today.
That's Kyle Whittingham, the defensive coordinator for Utah. His father was a big influence on him philosophically with his defenses. Coached him at BYU, former player there. Bud Carson, George Seifert, a couple of guys who made indelible impressions on him as well. Second down and 8 for the Wolverines. Blitz coming, and they get to Navarre back at the 30-yard line. The strong safety, Dave Breville, with the sack. The third of the afternoon, and the Utah fans that made the trip a little bit excited about that one.
I love Dave Breville. If you take the Arizona tape and watch it, they did the same thing against Arizona. You see the strong safety coming on the blitz. Dave Breville is a playmaker. He comes unblocked and hits John Navarre right in the mouth.
Breville with a career-high 10 stops last week against Arizona. And a big sack there, setting up a third down and 15 for the Wolverines. They come with pressure again. Navarre. Butler making the catch near midfield at the 49-yard line for the first down. A huge conversion for the Wolverines, a pickup of 19 yards. It's number 14 Michigan here in Ann Arbor taking on Utah, the first meeting ever between these two teams. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. And here's a look at our ESPN game track. Utah's third down conversions, the bane of the team right now, just 2 for 12. The big playmaker today, Braylon Edwards, 7 catches for a total of 97 yards, and first down and 10 for Michigan. Perry right between the tackles and put his hat down and put it on Antoine Sanders, the free safety. Let's go back to Reese in the studio.
All right, Mark, while Michigan gets on the move, Louisville is doing likewise against Army. This is Damian Dorsey. Now Damian Dorsey is going to turn on the Jets. 80 yards, he takes it to the house. This is the first Conference USA game for the Cardinals. After a little bit of a disappointing 1-2 start, they're up 17-0 in Georgia over Northwestern State by 3 touchdowns.
Navarre on this drive, 3 of 4. Total of 35 yards so far. Perry down to the 36-yard line. And speaking of Louisville, who we saw just a few moments ago in that update, Bob, Steve Earhart, the executive director of the Liberty Bowl, already scouting out teams. I have an opportunity to speak with him before the game, and Utah could very well end up in that game against a team like Louisville. The Mountain West.
Think last year it was BYU and Louisville. Is that
great
correct?
Game, outstanding contest.
I think they had a play-by-play guy that did that as maybe one of the best in the country. Is that right?
Hey, thank you. I love Beale Street. Just the way I wrote it down, Bob. You read it out well.
Take care of me on the .com. I'll come back and help you now.
Second down and 6 Ferry over the 35 down to the 34-yard line.
Michigan trying right now out of the two-back set to truly establish the running game. Puts them in a 3rd-5 situation right now. They go to their 3 wide receiver package.
10th play of this Wolverine drive coming up. Bellamy is split wide to the top of your screen. Askew and Perry in the backfield. Guy who's been relatively quiet today, Benny Joppru, the tight end who caught 7
Watch
passes
the fullback
last week.
right now, B.J. Askew.
Underneath to Edwards. Run out of bounds at the 31 near the 1st down. Not quite sure that he got it.
Well, I don't think there's any question Michigan's going to go for it right here.
4th down, and they're calling it 1, but it really looks to be shorter than that. Over 107,000 armchair quarterbacks here.
You think with a 6'6" quarterback, you go quarterback sneak?
I think he's mobile enough to do it. Ball forward. There you go. Navarre takes it in between Boss and Morgan and Pearson and gets the 1st down. And let's go downstairs for an update from Holly Rowe.
Right now, gentlemen, there is an injury for Utah to their starting inside linebacker. Zach Toon is out for the game with a separation in his shoulder, his right shoulder. The good news, though, Jeremy Lyman is back in the lineup now. He got repetitions in practice this week because he's been pushing Zach Toon for a starting job, so he got equal reps. That should help Utah not have much drop-off at that position.
Despite the anemic offensive numbers, Utah only down 10 points. Perry into the boundary on the toss. Pushed out of bounds at the 31. There's a flag down on the play back at the 34. It's against Michigan. Let's go to Reese in the studio.
Mark, Luke McCown is putting up some huge numbers against Penn State. He's already approaching 300 yards passing there early in the 3rd quarter. He finds Ahmad Harris here, and the Dogs back to a 21-17 game.
Some teams match up better against certain style teams. I'm not sure Penn State matches up great against Louisiana Tech. They had the same problem several weeks ago when we had the Central Florida game. Those teams that spread the field and throw it, Penn State seems to struggle with right now.
Yeah, they sure do. Holding against Michigan. It was against Joppru, the tight end, number 83, who was a big part of the offense, you would think, coming into this game, Bob, but we haven't seen him make any catches today.
Not a good way to get your first time being addressed on television on the holding penalty.
1st down and 20 back at the 39-yard line. They run the screen to Askew. Trying to make something out of nothing. Askew still on his feet. Determined, made it all the way back to the 35. Well, on the stat sheet, it'll show up as a short game, but a big effort.
Tremendous effort by B.J. Askew, and the crowd actually moaned when they saw how Utah had that play defended. But he made a bad situation into a pretty good situation by breaking some tackles.
With that kind of effort, you can see why Lloyd Carr and Terry Malone, his offensive coordinator, want to get Askew as many touches as possible. Backs line up out of the offset eye this time. Edwards in motion. Incomplete, intended for Askew once again. That time Navarre missing badly, and a smattering of boos coming from the stands.
Mark, but go back again. The holding penalty on the tight end. Michigan in a great rhythm, running the football, a lot of momentum happening. All of a sudden, it's 2nd down and 20. It's hard to call plays on 2nd and 3rd and 20.
Yeah, this is the 14th play of the drive coming up for Lloyd Carr's crew. Move the ball 45 yards. They're on the 35 of Utah. Under 5 minutes to play here in the 3rd period. Navarre going up top. Out of bounds, intended for Edwards. And the Bluebirds out once again here at Michigan. You know, Navarre has, like his predecessors, Brian Griese and Tom Brady, taken a lot of hits from the fans and from the local media, but like those other two guys, Navarre has been steadfast in his efforts.
Mark, and you can look at it two ways. It's always going to be that way at places like Michigan and Notre Dame, whether you're the head coach or the quarterback. But what a great opportunity. Tom Brady goes to the NFL. He can handle anything the New England media and the New England fans bring him. So it's a great opportunity to mature.
They fake the field goal and pooch kick it. Brabs does. Going to try and get this one to stop short of the goal line, but it doesn't. Goes into the end zone. And we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will speak with one of the all-time greats in college football, Bo.
ESPN's presentation of college football, brought to you by Kia Motors, makers of a full line of quality cars, backed by a 10-year warranty program.
Back here on a warm, sunny Saturday afternoon in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan leading Utah by a score of 10-0. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe down in the field. Utah has the ball first down and 10 from its own 20-yard line. Backs lining up out of the eye. Rice into the flat, complete. And out near a first down is his back Benton, and we're joined right now in the booth by the venerable former head coach of the Wolverines, Bo Schembechler. Bo, good to see you.
Mark?
Great to see you in the booth again.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, listen, Bo, what do you think about what we've been talking about here when one of the themes of the game about the pressure on these guys to almost perform magic tricks in front of this huge crowd, coming off a big disappointment last week?
Well, it's tough if you're having a hard time as a quarterback in Michigan Stadium. You know, you're going to hear about it. But this game, I don't think will ever make ESPN Classic.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. It's kind of a dull game. Neither team can run the ball, and I just, you know, I'm from the old school. If you can't run the ball, you know, look out. My experience has been that if you're a favored team like we are here playing at home, and you let a team like Utah stay in this game, you run a real risk of losing the game. And I know Utah hasn't done much offensively. They don't have to do much to get 10 points. So this game isn't out of reach for them at all.
Well, they're looking at a 3rd down and 1 right here. Two tight end formation, and Rice goes back to pass. Incomplete. And it's going to be 4th down and 1 for the Utah Utes.
Now there's a case where they'd have absolutely no confidence that they can run a 1-yard play and get a first down.
Exactly, and it goes back to the second quarter. They had a chance on 3rd and 1, Utah, to convert. They ran the football and didn't make it. But you're absolutely right. There's no confidence right now for Utah running the football, and it's really hard to throw the football against a defense like Michigan.
10th punt of the day for Lewis from Utah. That's right, 10. Way back at the 30. And brought down at the 41-yard line. We're going to take a short break, but more from former head coach Bo Schembechler when we come back from this break. Stick around.
Can't imagine.
Michigan with the ball, 1st down and 10 from its own 42-yard line with 3:03 to go in the 3rd quarter. University of Utah, as Bo Schembechler said a few moments ago, still hanging around. This is Perry between the tackles, brought down at the 45. Let's go back to Reese in the studio.
Finally found its running game. Clarence Farmer has just been averaging over 2 yards per carry. Hadn't had a big play. He is a breakaway threat, and now Wisconsin knows why. Oh, Clarence Farmer, Clarence Farmer, Clarence Farmer, Clarence Farmer. 70 yards to the house. Zone is on the board. It's 24-7.
Bo, I'm going to put it on you. You can't say Michigan. What team do you like in the Big Ten to win it this year?
Well, I think early in the season it looks like Ohio State and Penn State. That game will be played in Columbus, so the Buckeyes will have an advantage there. Michigan could be in there, but if they're going to play offense like they've been playing early this year, I don't think they can win it.
Well, let me ask you this. With all the 8- and 9-man fronts you see defensively, you were a guy, like you said, like to run the football. Can you do it like you used to do it back in the day?
Sure you can. You run the football. No, you run the football. They may tackle you for a 5-yard gain, but the next time you're going to fake that play, and you're going to come down and run a post cut for a touchdown. They can't afford to be doing that, sending that 8th guy up in there to stop the run all the time.
But we had a chance yesterday to talk football for over an hour at the Michigan office with you. You got to help me a little bit. Coach me up now. You did some broadcasting. After you get out of coaching, you went into the broadcast. Yeah, right. Coach me up a little bit. Give me a little advice.
Well, frankly, I think you're doing very well. You see, you're a little more glib than I was, and so I think you're going to be just fine.
2nd down and 8 for John Navarre. This is Perry trying to bounce it to the outside and drag down Collard actually at the 41-yard line. About 6 to go for the 1st down for the Wolverines as we approach 1 minute to go here in the 3rd quarter of play.
But what about Michigan? You know, you played in so many great Michigan-Notre Dame games. Playing Notre Dame as a non-conference team.
Yeah.
Right now, in the era of teams minimizing their non-conference schedule, playing automatic wins, Michigan and playing that kind of aggressive schedule.
Well, it makes it tough. You can eliminate them from the Bowl Championship Series. They play just too many tough games. And the Notre Dame game was fine until...
Incomplete.
Yeah.
But a flag on the play.
Notre Dame game was a fine game before Penn State came in. Now you got Penn State in the league. Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Just too many tough teams. And to play a non-conference schedule that has both Washington and Notre Dame, I don't think is very smart.
Well, you looking real young, man. You look real young. You're
for an old guy.
No. You're traveling around the world, here, there, and everywhere.
Well, I have done that. Yes, I have traveled a lot. I'm here during the football season, though.
Still look at tape from time to time?
I look at tape quite a bit, to tell you the truth.
I've got to ask you this question. I coached at Texas A&M 9 years.
Right.
Back in about 1981, all the rumors of Bo Schembechler going to Texas A&M. Is there anything to those rumors?
Well, the cowboy boots didn't fit. That was one of those deals that I didn't want to get involved in, and I ended up getting involved in it, and it was a lot of to-do about nothing. As a matter of fact, Bear Bryant got mad at me because I didn't call him. He said,
right?
Well, you know I coached there. And I said, Bear, I'm not going to Texas A&M.
Well, they'd have loved the name down there. You know, you could put marry Bo to a lot of things down there.
Right.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeah.
If you're Utah right now, trying to generate some kind of points, the risk of turning the ball over, what do you do right now? Do you just try to throw it?
You know what? I think they better forget about risk. Because I think that, they're in the game. When you're trailing by 10 points, you got a chance. And you got to make some plays.
Here's Rice. A little waggle.
That's what is known as a missed tackle.
A little tough run. So one man's tough running is another man's missed tackle.
One of the most difficult things is to defend the play-action pass. Here you say the big tight end, J.D. Jorgensen. Cato June comes up, but Bo will be the first one to tell you he dropped his head down, was not in very good football position right there, and the result was a missed tackle. And we talked yesterday, with so much scheme in college football now, the reduction in scholarships, less time to practice each week, the fundamentals have gone downhill, haven't they?
Blocking and tackling is not as crisp and hard as it used to be because they won't practice it. They're afraid to get somebody hurt.
Now, that was a better tackle, right? That was a tackle.
That was a nice tackle. Yeah.
The thing you like about this tackle, Marlon Jackson comes in, he keeps his head up, and he wraps his arms. Tell me about Marlon Jackson, number 3. You've seen a bunch of great corners around here.
I've seen some great corners come in here. I think he'll take his place as one of them. He's got everything that you want. This kid is something special. And I'd like to see him back there returning kicks.
Bo, I got to ask you before you leave. What's a symphony crowd when Ron McBride talks about a symphony crowd? You're a lot more cultured now that you're out of coaching, so maybe you can help.
These people are sophisticated. They're analyzing this game and not shooting their mouths off.
There you go.
All right. The words of the former head coach.
I'll see you guys later.
Bo, thank you very much.
All right. Bo Schembechler, folks. We'll be right back.
This is big.
My life.
And try new.
First down and 10 for Utah from its own 21-yard line. They trail by 10 points as we begin the fourth quarter. Rice on the toss to Warfield. Warfield got to the corner. Out near the 25-yard line, Drake and Jackson making the stop on the play. Now, Bob, how does Utah not only stay close, which they've done, but score and get in?
Even though they haven't scored, obviously, they haven't crossed midfield yet, they're still in this game, and they're still following Ron McBride's plan. The thing that concerns me if I'm Michigan, 2 drives in the third quarter, no points. You continue to let Utah hang around, but does Utah have enough weapons to make a big play? That's the thing we're going to find out. Can they get the ball down the field?
3 games into the regular season, they are known as a second half, especially a fourth quarter team. Rice, incomplete, dangerously into coverage. Hobson almost had the pick. Let's go back to Rice in the studio.
I'm not pretending to be a defensive guru like Coach Davey or Coach Schembechler, but if I'm playing Penn State, I'm finding 12. Michael Robinson, for the 3rd time of the day, into the end zone against Louisiana Tech. 3 carries, 3 touchdowns. That's efficient. 28-17, Penn State on top. Clemson's now stretched it out to a 10-point lead over Ball State.
It's funny how you don't hear people wondering if Joe Paterno's lost his fastball anymore, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That's a diversified offense they have.
3rd down and 7 for Utah. Rice had a man wide open at the 34, Latendresse, and it's incomplete.
Mark, we talked early in the game. In fact, our storyline going into the game, Lance Rice had to step up, had to rebound from last week against Arizona. You have to make that throw and that catch on 3rd down right there when you're playing on the road and you're trying to bounce back after a tough loss.
I'll tell you, Brian Lewis is going to have one fatigued leg, right leg, his 11th punt of the day. Curry at the 32. Curry with a nice return out to midfield, an 18-yard return after a 43-yard punt. Michigan with good starting field position when we return. Welcome back, everyone, to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Number 14 Wolverines leading the Utes 10-0. First down and 10 for the Wolverines at midfield. Perry. Nice run out near the first down at the 40. Let's take a look at our ESPN game track. Some of the coaching points of the game so far. Utah, Bob Davies still has yet to cross midfield this late in the ball game. And the big playmaker on the day so far for the Wolverines, Braylon Edwards, with a touchdown catch. And approaching 100 yards receiving.
I think what you see right now, Utah's defense not only starts to get tired, but they get demoralized because their offense has been so ineffective. And you just sense right now that if Michigan can make a play, it's going to break their back. But the psyche of this defense right now is frazzled because their offense has been just totally in it.
Yeah, the defense has hung in there a little bit for Utah, coming into the game number 3 in the country in rush defense.
53.
They're going to add some more time on the clock. Michigan with the ball at the 40. First down and 10 after the Perry run. Play fake by Navarre. Backside pressure. Edwards couldn't hang on to it. Broken up nicely by Cody Waite. And let's go downstairs to Holly.
I'm with a very special guest. This is Father Tom Firestone. He is the team Catholic chaplain and the chaplain here at the university. You would come to the games and scream on Saturday. What problems would that present on Sunday?
I was so hoarse I couldn't give a homily. My parishioners loved it, but I had to do something about it. So
you went to the University of Michigan Vocal Health Center, and what have they taught you?
They've given me some exercises, strengthen my voice, and get it back so I can preach on Sundays. I'm doing it now.
All right, let's hear one.
Oh, blue.
So you do the lower tone, keep the voice down. You got a little high there on that pitch. Your pitch got a little high, but we can see that you're working on it. A little hail to the victor. Let's see what you do with that.
Hail to the victors valiant.
Beautiful. I've read that one of the keys is keeping hydrated, so let's make sure you're drinking a lot of water and keep that voice for Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Go blue.
I'd love to. Thanks, Ollie. I'd love to hear his sermons on Saturday. On Sunday, I mean, Bob. I thought all priests wrote up their sermons during the football game. He's busy cheering, huh?
I was kind of curious who he rooted for last week when it was Notre Dame, Michigan. I think I know the answer.
Yeah. And they're about 6 inches short of the first down.
You feel right now, Chris Perry, he doesn't like being on that bench. And he's taking advantage of all of his opportunities right now.
Let's go back downstairs to Holly real quick.
Guys, I did talk to Father Tom about his loyalties last week, and he said he hated losing to those Catholics.
There's your answer. I want to be listening to him in the pulpit on Sunday afternoon. I know that. Third down in inches for Michigan. This one, an identity game, Bob, especially for Michigan. Do you think that they've established that identity yet?
That's a tough question to answer. I think they have to feel great about their defense. Offensively, Braylon Edwards jumps out at you. They've started to run the football a little bit better right now. Going into conference play, that's what we're going to find out the rest of this football game.
And here's Perry once again, stopped up short of the first down at the 31-yard line. So the Utah defense proves to be intransigent. They dig in their heels and come up with a big stop.
This is a concern of Michigan with that big offensive line going against an undersized Utah team. They weren't able to knock Utah back off the football, and there was no question that was a negative yardage play right there for Michigan. They're going to have another opportunity right here on 4th and 1.
They're going to go for it with the ball at the 31-yard line. Dapu and Mignery in two tight end formation. Askew and Perry in the backfield. It's Perry. He got the first down at the 28. So it's hat on hat that time, and this time the Wolverine offensive line, Morgan, Boss, Pearson, Petruzziello, and Pate doing the job. Michigan tripling Utah's first downs.
Mark, that last call on 4th down, there's always the temptation as a coach to play action and trick the defense. But what happens, you set a tone to your own offensive team that you can't make a half a yard on 4th down. So Lloyd Carr went ahead that time and just said, look, we're going to run the football and make the first down.
Perry down to the 24-yard line. And back to that last play, how much do you think their lack of good place kicking factored into it, Bob?
I think that enters into it, but I think the overriding point of that decision was Lloyd Carr said, look, enough's enough. We have to take a giant offensive line like ours against an undersized line. We have to make a half yard on 4th down. So I think he set the tempo and sent a message much more than it had to do with, well, can the field goal kicker make this or not?
It is 2nd down and 5 to go. Backs out of the eye. It's Dudley and Perry. Butler and Edwards back in the ball game. It's Perry, though, between the tackles all the way down to the 17-yard line. You sense the offensive line really digging in and firing off the ball. NFL primetime begins 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, followed by the Bengals and the Falcons. Michael Vick weaving his magic at the quarterbacking spot for the Atlanta Falcons. They've had 2 near misses so far this season. Run the ball for 128 yards.
You love that air raid music, don't you?
It's nice.
Yeah,
it gets me geeked up. Love Michael Vick, too. First down and 10. Perry trying to cut it back. Tackled at the 15-yard line by Antoine Sanders. Michigan grinding it out on the ground predominantly after converting on that 4th down and short. And Lloyd Carr said, you know, the key coming into this week's game was keeping the distractions and outside influences to a bare minimum and convincing my team that, hey, we can be a very good football team if we hang our hat on what we do well, when we find that thing and do it well. Right now, running the ball pretty well. Perry tackled at the 13 and a flag on the play.
Prior to the snap, offside, defense.
The Michigan
5-yard penalty, still second down.
The Michigan offense, Bob, has totaled 317 yards so far. Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, said they had one of the changes this year actually, getting some work done on Sundays. What are your thoughts on that?
What they do, the NCAA has a rule where you have to give the players 1 day off a week. And it's a huge decision by coaches. Do you give them Sunday off or do you give them Monday off? Michigan chooses to come back in on Sunday, get the previous game tape out of the way, and then give the players Monday off.
Navarre hands it off to Perry. And Perry brought down just inside the 10. Reese, what's up in Happy Valley? Is it happy?
It is happy if you are a Penn State fan, Mark. 28-17, Penn State on top of Louisiana Tech. And the Penn State defense, we've talked about the trouble they've had with this type of team. Paul Cronin picked 6 against Luke McCown, and the Nittany Lions with a little breathing room now at 35-17. Purdue on top of Wake, 7-0 there early in the second quarter.
This is a key third down for Utah's defense. Obviously, they have to hold Michigan to a field goal right here and keep it a 2-touchdown game.
3 yards to go. Navarre, incomplete. No flag on the play. It was intended for Tyrese Butler. And it'll be 4th down. That Utah defense has really done well today. They've hung in there.
I think they've shown a tremendous amount of character because not only are they playing against Michigan's offense, they're playing against Utah's offense as well because they've had to be on the field so much.
Michigan's had the ball for 30 minutes. Utah just 19. Krabs has already made one from 37. This one coming from 10 yards closer. And he missed it. And the Boo Birds rise up and come out in unison here at Ann Arbor. We'll be right back after this.
ESPN's presentation of college football, brought to you by Coors Original, Real, Golden, Beer, official sponsor of Guys Night Out.
Back here in Ann Arbor, Michigan leading 10-0, although they missed a 27-yard field goal just a few moments ago before the break. 1st down and 10 for Utah. Rice still in at quarterback for the Utes. He hands it off to J.R. Perulis. They've run for only 14 yards on the ground today. And going back to Brabs in the group of players there somewhere, he's the guy with his chin strapped down, with his helmet still on, maybe trying to remain a little inconspicuous, Bob. He struggled this year.
One thing, if you want to remain inconspicuous, don't be a place kicker at a place like Michigan. We talked about the coach getting the heat. That's part of the deal. The quarterback gets the heat. The next one is the place kicker. So I think it's pretty good for him to be kind of in the middle of that mix down there on that sidelines right now.
He's back on the firing line after that miss. Rice with a nice play fake, sold it, and completed the pass out to the 43-yard line. The pass complete to number 26, Rob Stursens, his first catch of the day. 1st down and 10 for the Utes.
A great play call right here by Utah. Something that they have not done. They are going to leak the fullback out. Leak the fullback out on a misdirection pass. You see the void in the zone coverage. They have a chance against 3 deep coverage right there to make a play.
That was their longest play of the day, 22 yards. Pass midfield for the first time today. Latondres with the reception into Michigan territory at the 48.
As long as you hang around long enough, it only takes a couple plays. But as amazing as that statistic, Utah's first time past midfield, Penn State 9 times past midfield into Utah territory, only 10 points. Excuse me, Michigan.
2nd down and 2 on the toss. Perulis flag down on the play. And Perulis brought down at the 49-yard line.
They weren't past midfield long because a holding penalty just put them back in familiar territory back on their side of the 50.
Let's go to Reese in the studio.
Mark, this is one way to cross midfield. Eli Manning leading Ole Miss against Vanderbilt. He's on his own 21, and they will shortly cross midfield and then some. Chris Collins, 79 yards. And by the way, I want to tell you about Doug Ziegler, the tight end we told you got hurt earlier. A broken fibula and tibia in his left leg. It's 23-10 Ole Miss. Northwestern on top of Navy, but just by 4.
Mark, this must be sacred ground right here at the 50. And you know how those people that have dogs put those shock things at the edge of their yard so the
Those
dog
barriers,
doesn't, so he doesn't cheat out into the neighbor's yard? I'm not sure there's not some barrier right there at that 50-yard line for Utah.
Maybe the Wolverine fans put it up in the middle of the night. Second down and 12. Utah back in its own territory at the 41. After briefly, and I mean briefly, being across midfield. Little screen. They look to throw it downfield. Jorgensen brought down behind the line of scrimmage at the 38. He was looking downfield to pass it, Bob.
You are seeing the frustration of Utah, but also give them credit for trying to find a way to be creative to move the football. You're going to see Utah right here set up the double pass. It doesn't materialize, but give them credit right here. They throw it out here, what looks like it's going to be a screen. The second tight end was going to try to throw the football down the field, but well defended by Michigan.
Third down and 15. Michigan bringing a blitz. Rice has a man. Lyman with the first down at the 28-yard line. And the Utes come up with a huge conversion here with 6:34 to go in the fourth quarter, a 34-yard pickup.
Anytime on defense, you're going to go ahead and blitz. Here you see them bring the dime back, Cato June off the corner. You'd better get there. Utah does a great job of maximum protection. Give him Lance Rice time, and he got in behind number 21, Jeremy Lesore right there.
Lyman with a few yards after the reception, too, and it's 1st and 10 from the 29. Perulis on the option, throws it back for Rice, and he couldn't come up with a catch. Ron McBride dipping into his bag of tricks for the second time, Bob, on this drive. Brandon Williams there to break it up for the Wolverines.
What Utah wanted right there was man-to-man coverage by Michigan, because in man-to-man coverage, the person you don't account for is the quarterback. And there you see Lance Rice, the throwback to the quarterback. Unfortunately for Michigan, they're in zone coverage, and also Rumashak, the defensive end, smelled that play out. Once again, Ron McBride digging deep, Mark, into that bag right now.
Oh, yeah, 6 minutes to go almost. Rice under some heat, got his man, Latendresse, touchdown Utah. They finally get into the end zone, and they are right back in this ball game. A 29-yard catch for the score.
Is it amazing the difference in the body language right now of these two football teams? The great thing about college football, it doesn't take much to get momentum on your side.
Bob, just like a week ago, it took almost 3 2/3 quarters, almost the last 6 minutes of the ball game before Utah's offense finally got untracked and was able to move the ball downfield. Now in for the extra point, it's Borison, and he knocks it through. We're looking at a 3-point lead for Lloyd Carr's team. The fellas from Salt Lake City, Utah, hanging around, looking to steal one here in Ann Arbor. 6 minutes to go. A 3-point lead when we come back. A look at Latendresse on the sidelines, caught the touchdown pass to put Utah within 3 points of Michigan with just under 6 minutes to play. Lance Rice with his 26th career touchdown pass and his 6th this season. And the Utah defense has done a great job here, especially in the second half. Tackle made out of the 30-yard line on Jeremy Lesure of Michigan.
You're going to see what happens on this big touchdown. First of all, Utah puts the Twins into the boundary, into the short side of the field. The second thing, Michigan is man-to-man coverage. Jackson comes in, picks Jackson, Latendrus on the wheel route. The safety is late getting off the hash. But Utah putting the Twins into the boundary, picking Marlon Jackson, Latendrus on the big play, beats man-to-man coverage. And Utah is back in the game. Pressure now back on Michigan's offense,
who has seen numerous opportunities to score points deep in Utah territory fall by the boards. This is Perry falling forward to the 34. Reese, what's up in the studio?
What's up in Oxford? People flying up and down the field. Remember the Eli Manning touchdown pass we just showed you a moment ago? Jay Cutler, he was frozen in time for a moment, but he started moving eventually and threw a touchdown pass to MJ Garrett. And then Eli, after that one, answers it with Mike Espy. Perhaps Mike Espy is worthy of best touchdown catch by a redshirt freshman wide receiver, 29-17.
Put him up for an Espy for sure. Second down and 6. They give it to the back. The first man through, B.J. Askew. It'll be third down. And about 4 yards to go for the Wolverines from their own 36, and a big play coming up.
You see, Utah has solved one problem. You can see here they're going to fake the reverse, Michigan. In the last couple times, the defense's end has been up the field, creating a seam, overplaying the reverse. This time he closes Jason Kafusi and makes the play. This would be a great opportunity to run the reverse if you're Michigan, but the down and distance is not dictated.
Perry on the sidelines, a little shaken up after that last play. Michigan needs to get just beyond the 40 for the first down. Oh, Edwards hung on to it. He got his head around and hands on it. Navarre put it right where it needed to be for the first down. Cody Wade and Antoine Senders in on the coverage on the play, but a little too late.
This picture's going to speak for itself. Big-time players make big-time plays. Actually, it was a great throw by John Navarre. He actually juggled a little bit when he didn't have to, but he stayed with it. He stayed with it. Big first down.
He turned around, Bob, and the ball was literally in his hands. Edwards now over 100 yards, 109 on the day. First and 10. Here comes the reverse. And it's a nice gain to the 42-yard line, Calvin Bell. A 14-yard pickup. And Navarre leading the way with a nice little block.
Don't think that coaches don't watch from the press box. We mentioned 2 plays ago that Utah's defensive end was closing and the reverse was set up. They couldn't do it on third down, but they come back the next series. And here you see the defensive end caught inside. Result, big play for Michigan. But that play developed 2 plays ago.
Askew the lead blocker for Perry on the ISO, and Perry brought down right at the line of scrimmage. A little bit shy of the 40-yard line as Michigan now with the ball, 4 minutes remaining in the game. Don't forget, coming after the game, it's College Game Day Scoreboard presented by Acura with Reese Davis and Trev Alberts. Big Ten action today, lots of it. And will Maurice Claret play for Ohio State today, coming off of arthroscopic knee surgery?
Isn't that amazing that we're in a day and age that you can have arthroscopic knee surgery and even talk about playing the same week you had the surgery?
Very talented player for the Buckeyes. Second down and 10. Utah's defense has been up to the challenge here in the second half so far. They need a stop. Navarre wide open to Ronald Bellamy. Bellamy just short of the first down at the 31-yard line. Bellamy out of New Orleans, Louisiana. A 6-foot senior.
You're going to see John Navarre really wanted to go right here to the fullback in the flat. But the outside linebacker from Utah does a great job. John Navarre is patient. The third man in that progression is Ronald Bellamy. Great job by John Navarre of not forcing the ball to his primary receiver, B.J. Askew.
Navarre, 18 of 35 today, 188 yards to go along with 1 touchdown. And most importantly right now, while they measure for the first down, it's important that Navarre be able to capitalize and kind of finish off this drive, something they were unable to do in the dying moments of the game and come back last week against Notre Dame. They are about 6 inches or a foot short of the first down. John Navarre would go a long ways towards silencing some of those doubting Thomases out there. Could he convert here and get a first down and keep the sticks moving for Michigan? And like I mentioned, Brian Greasy was a quarterback here that the fans and some media members, skeptics, said he wasn't good enough. Look at him now in Denver. Tom Brady, he can do no wrong now. And there's a lot of revisionist history going on here at Michigan about how great Brady was, but there was a time when they were killing him here too.
We've heard that story before. But in the end, John Navarre will be a much better person and a much better player for persevering and fighting through this. But it's not easy, and you got to step up. I look for Michigan right here, quarterback sneak once again in this situation.
3rd down and 1 from just outside the 30-yard line. Michigan today is 4 of 17. There it is, in 3rd down situations.
The thing you have to be careful right here, Michigan wants to use the clock, but you don't want to have to panic and snap the ball with 1 second left and get yourself out of rhythm.
As Hugh and Perry in the backfield, Navarre kept it himself. Boy, that's going to be close. He kept it himself earlier in the game and got the first down, but this one is going to be a little bit tighter.
We have to do what all the play-by-play and color guys did.
Yes.
Did he make it?
I'll say he did.
I think he made it as well.
They just gave it to him.
Did they?
Yep. Just gave it to him. Let's go to Reese.
North Carolina State has come out of the halftime locker room, and they are exploding on Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury fumbles the snap. Sean Price picks it up, makes like a fullback, and takes it to the house. Tech then fumbled the ensuing kickoff, and NC State's down on the 20 again, up 31-10.
Michigan first down and 10. Perry almost broke through that time, tripped up by shoestrings at the 24-yard line. Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Guys, talking about Tom Brady, John Navarre has gotten some key advice from him. When John Navarre came in as a freshman, Tom Brady was still here. Tom showed him the work ethic that he needed to have to be a quarterback here, but more importantly, he's called him, kept in touch with him, and helped him handle the pressure situations that you're certainly bound to face here as a quarterback at Michigan. Isn't it ironic? Nobody thought Tom Brady was good enough, but now he's the Super Bowl MVP. John Navarre can take some heart in that.
Yeah, good point, Holly. And don't forget that coming up a little bit later here on ESPN, 7:45 Eastern Time, right here. #1 Miami taking on Boston College. Ken Dorsey, Willis McGahee, Andre Johnson, and all of those weapons taking on the Golden Eagles.
You know, Larry Coker has done, obviously, an unbelievable job at Miami. But what about the job Tom O'Brien's done at Boston College?
This was last year, Bob, when Ed Reed took it back for the touchdown. Boston College was driving at the time.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'm still, every time I look at that, I cringe, though, because Ed Reed didn't put that ball away, and he was holding out there like a loaf of bread.
You know that spike had to feel good, though. He just let it all hang out. 2nd down and 5. Utah's offense, meanwhile, talking about their potential strategy should they get the ball back.
Well, Utah's in a situation right here. They're going to have to use their 2 timeouts on defense. But it's critical, again, that they hold Michigan to a field goal attempt and don't let Michigan into the end zone and keep it a 1-touchdown game.
That missed field goal by the Wolverines last time down looms large as well. Victory in motion, the tight end. Perry got about 2. He'll be 3 short of the first down. It'll be 3rd down, and Utah calls a timeout. So the chess match between coaching staffs begins to play out with 2:10 to go in the 4th quarter. We'll be right back after this.
So, what'd you guys do last night?
A critical and pivotal 3rd down and 4 coming up for Michigan with 2:10 to go in the 4th quarter. And there's a look at the place kicker. Bill Brabb's 1 of 2 on the day.
A couple things I think you look at, the fullback in the flat and also Braylon Johnson right here.
Got to get to the 20 for the first down. It's a waggle. And Joffrey, his first catch of the day, stopped up short of the first down at the 27-yard line by Revel. And a big play once again by one of the important members of the defense, their strong safety.
I am really impressed, Mark, with this Utah defense. And you're going to see just great patience right here by Dave Revel. This is a good call. The hard play action away. They delay Benny Dropper and try to get him to the flat. But Dave Revel, well-disciplined, well-coached, comes up. And once again, where's Bo? Where's Bo Schembechler? A great form tackle. And you see the excitement right there. And we're back to another kicking situation. And don't forget about this. A blocked field goal right now.
No doubt, and there's a look at Revel and defensive coordinator Kyle Whittingham. Revel, the team's leading tackler coming in. He had 21 stops, had a career-high 10 last week against Arizona. And the offense seemingly will be put in a position once again to have to drive the length of the field for a score. We're here at Ann Arbor, Michigan. Number 14, Michigan against Utah. I'm Mark Jones against Bob Davie and Holly Rowe down on the sidelines. Utah hasn't been across midfield that often, but they only trail by 3 points. Don't forget, coming up next, it's the College Game Day scoreboard presented by Acura. Number 6, Ohio State, taking on Cincinnati at 3:30 Eastern time. That's coming up next. Brabs coming in to attempt a field goal. This one coming from 42 yards out. He's made one from 37 today, missed one from 27. Once again, under the spotlight.
The great thing about athletics, you always get another chance, and Philip Brab has another chance.
And he missed it. Utah's defense dodges another proverbial bullet. And the Utes will have the ball with 1:55 to go to get into field goal range to tie or a score to win the game. But they have no timeouts remaining.
We'll see what Ron McBride has left in his bag right now of tricks, because he's dug down pretty deep already. But think of this. Utah has a field goal kicker that's kicked a 53-yarder and a 50-yarder this year.
And he has made his last 6 field goals in a row. Last week against Arizona, they were in a familiar position, and they moved the ball all the way down to the 5-yard line before they were on the short end of that controversial call. Rice to pass. Stevens applies pressure and a flag down at the 18-yard line. The pass intended for number 4, Paris Jackson.
They just made it harder on themselves with the holding penalty.
This one's going to be against Utah.
Mark, you think back to last week. Lance Rice basically did nothing in the passing game until the 4th quarter against Arizona. Same thing again this week. He was 5 for 6 on the last drive for 79 yards.
1:49 on the clock to go for Utah. Utah has been involved in a lot of close games, and there's a look at the place kicker, Brian Borison, who has a very strong leg. Utah 16 losses by those close margins. First down and 20.
And Utah with no timeouts. So it's a hurry-up situation from this point the rest of the game.
Low snap. Rice has a man, Lyman. Lyman got it back to the 31-yard line. Did he get a bounce?
Another penalty. We may have another hold right here.
Flag down at the 13. Check that, the 7-yard line. And it's again a hold against Utah. Those are killers.
Michigan probably runs more line twists and line stunts than any team in college football. Victor Hobson first picking. Ramachek coming around. Utah is going to hold. And you see it right here. Ramachek gets tackled. They shoot themselves again in the foot. But on the other side of it, Michigan has more sacks than anyone in college football.
I'm not going to say it's of any consequence, but this is a Big Ten officiating crew. Just want to add that little disclaimer. The Mountain West did not travel officials to this game.
That one right there, Worldwide Wrestling could have made that call, Mark.
First and 28 now. Jackson complete out to the 18. Clock running with 1:29 to go in the game. Utah is out of timeouts. Last week in this situation, Houston was Rice's favorite target. This week it's been Latondras. Another low snap. Complete to Latondras. Up to the 27. Covered by June. Don't forget, coming up after the game, College Game Day scoreboard by Acura. That's immediately following the game.
What concerns me right now is the shotgun snap of Utah. Twice in a row, they've been low snaps. Obviously, 4-down territory.
No doubt. 3rd and 9. They've got to get just beyond the 35 for the first down. Better snap this time for Rice. Incomplete. Had 2 guys in the area, both Lyman and Jackson, neither able to catch it. LeSueur in on the coverage for the Wolverines. It'll be 4th down and 9. Once again, another dramatic cardiac finish for Ron McBride's team.
And Ron wants to know right now, what do we have on 4th and 9 to get me 9 yards?
1 out of 3 on 4th down situations today.
You see Utah with 2 backs in the backfield to maximum protect.
This is the ball game for Utah. And it's picked off. Julius Curry. And Michigan has the ball back. Rice threw it into heavy traffic and paid the price.
Utah goes maximum protection again. They keep 6 men in to protect. They get good time. Lance Reich steps up. He has to go ahead and make this throw. Marlon Jackson, number 3. Great job of playing man-to-man coverage. And the most relieved guy in this stadium, other than Philip Bragg, is Lloyd Carr.
Michigan in a burn clock now with under a minute to go. Utah out of timeouts. That was the 2nd interception of the day for Rice. He came into the contest with no interceptions.
Great point. And you know, everyone is going to talk about Utah. Valiant effort coming in here. What a great job Ron McBride did. And that's exactly right. I mean, I give Utah a lot of credit. But let's give Michigan credit as well. Losing that football game last week to Notre Dame. Having Utah at home in front of a surly crowd because of losing the game last week to just find a way to win in college football. I give Lloyd Carr and his staff a lot of credit. They'll get their problem solved. And it's a lot easier to solve problems coming off a win.
No doubt. And as far as quarterback Rice goes for Utah, when you mix Rice with Curry, 2 interceptions, sometimes a little too much Curry can give you heartburn. That's what Rice had today. The final score, once again, Michigan 10, Utah 7. Coming up next, it's the College Game Day scoreboard presented by Acura. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, it was bounce back Saturday, and Michigan did bounce back just enough today against the Utes. For Bob Davie and Holly Rowe, and for the rest of our talented ESPN gang behind the cameras, I'm Mark Jones. Now let's go back to Reese.
Mark, thank you very much, and we will take you toward the bottom of the hour. We see that Michigan escapes against Utah. Will Ohio State get that same kind of test when they take on Cincinnati? Glad to have you with us on the College Game Day scoreboard presented by Acura. No Correct had that arthroscopic surgery on Tuesday on his knee, but certainly Ohio State with plenty of tailbacks back there.
He's got his jersey on the right way.
Well, he'll turn it around for post-game. That's sort of his thing now. You know,
okay,
the kids get to make their statements.
Yeah.
Utah have to feel for them. 17 losses by 7 points or less since 1997. Nobody in America has more. Clemson and Iowa have just as many. We talked about bounce back week, and certainly a group that wanted to bounce forward, the Pac-10.
Michigan State dropped out of the top 25 in the coaches poll. In-state rival Michigan fell from 6th to 14th. The upstart squad, which forced the Wolverines' plunge, is the very same one the Spartans host today. But keep in mind, MSU has a 5-game win.
That's Braylon Edwards.
Is he talking about me?
No, or you've been talking about John DeVore?
No, I've said good stuff.
Holly showed some speed to keep up with Braylon. He was trying to get out there and get ready to see if he could turn his jersey around the other way. What about Michigan's situation, though? It is a bounce-back Saturday for them. They had the heartbreaking loss against Notre Dame. They were upset over an official's call, the Carlisle Holiday touchdown, but they didn't come out and dominate this team. I don't want to take anything away from Utah. They're a good, solid, tough team. but do you sense some problems with Michigan right now?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if it's bounce back weekend, I'm not sure we can actually say that Michigan has necessarily bounced back. And again, Ron McBride has a nice team and a very nice defense. Many projected them to win the Mountain West. But if you're playing in the Big House and you're Michigan with your offensive line, I would have thought that Michigan would have come out and just dominated the line of scrimmage and ran all over that defense, and that didn't happen. You're still seeing this offense with John Navarre throwing more than 35 times a game. In my opinion, that's not Michigan football. Nice defense. I think you can throw on that defense and forget it. Michigan, don't ever put yourself in a position where you need to kick a field goal. I mean, this is not a good field goal kicking team at this point.
Now, Philip Brabs hit the one that countered against Washington, but I tell you what, since then it's been a very big struggle, and you can even sense that Lloyd Carr's a little bit hesitant to attempt a field goal.
No confidence right now.
And they open up the Big Ten schedule against Illinois coming up next for the Wolverines. Meanwhile, Penn State says the swagger is back after dismantling the
At Ann Arbor, Michigan avoids a second consecutive loss. This time they escape the Utah Utes. 10-7 the final score. The Utes actually driving for a potential tying field goal when Michigan came up with a second interception on the day to slam the door. Braylon Edwards, speaking of touchdowns, did have a touchdown catch of 12 yards from John Navarre. Our Holly Rowe caught up with him after this one.
Go, come on. All right, Braylon, this offense came into the game searching for an identity. Some key plays from you today. What have you found out about your offense?
We have a great offense. We practice hard. You know what I'm saying? John's a good quarterback. We have a good up front, and everything's going to click for us when the season starts.
I know this was a hard game, a comeback, disappointing loss from Notre Dame. This was a tough Utah team to run into. How did you guys stick it out?
We just play hard up front. Our defense playing with a hell of a game. You know what I'm saying? I limit them to not that many yards, and offense, we just put the ball in the zone.
John Navarre gets a lot of pressure from this crowd. What were your thoughts on John?
John had a good game. He's a great quarterback, and I'm tired of people talking about him. You know what I'm saying? He's a good quarterback.
Thanks very much. That's Braylon Edwards.
Holly Rowe, a tenacious young lady.
Staying in Michigan with a 10-7 victory. We're Bo Schembechler in the booth, and he said it wasn't really very pretty, and it certainly wasn't, but I think it's something that Michigan can draw a little confidence from. But right now, I think if you look at the Big Ten, two teams so far stood out a little bit, head and shoulders above the rest.
You and I both talked about the two teams are Penn State and Ohio State. I mean, look, Penn State I didn't think was a very good football team at the start of the season. They had too many questions on defense, but I think they've answered a lot of anybody else in the Big Ten Conference.
Krenzel's been very efficient throwing the
as tough a non-conference schedule as anybody in the country, and we're happy to have the win. And obviously there's some room for improvement. There's some things that we have to get done, but that's a damn good football team out there. Questions? I haven't even seen it. Obviously he wasn't out there, so I saw him at the half, and we got to see. We got to see. You don't have any other questions?
I was wondering, after Chris Perry fumbled, you sat him for a long time. And I was wondering, as a coach, when do you know to go back to him or just try to send a message and then to go back to him in critical situations? How do you balance that whole thing?
Well, that's a good question. I think the key is that, you know, Chris Perry is a very, very good football player. But, you know, as a team, we have to be, we have to take care of the football. And if you don't take care of the football, then somebody else has to get a chance. And hopefully, you know, there's an old cliche in coaching that the best way to teach a lesson is the bench. And Chris Perry's a competitive guy. He wants to play. And so I thought he went back in and ran with real good authority and did a good job. And Fred Jackson, his position coach, makes those determinations. So, you know, I think that's where we are on that.
What elements?
We have an update real quick from Oxford. The Vanderbilt Commodores lost their SEC opener, so they're trying to spoil that of the running Rebels. Jay Cutler, quarterback, sneak to score. Vandy all of a sudden cuts Mississippi's lead down to 7 points, and that's where we are right now in the fourth quarter. 9 minutes left. We will keep an eye on that game. Let's send it back to Lloyd Carr, whose Michigan Wolverines survived the scare from Utah in the Big House today.
Of the blitzing that they do, and so I give them credit. What we're very poor right now is on third down conversions. We were 5 out of 19, But I thought we ran the football. I didn't think we would be able to run the football for 175 yards. I think that's a very good sign. The fact that, as the game went on, and then we did some good things in the running game. We just didn't. We didn't do a good job on third down. We didn't do a good job in the red zone. You get the ball first down and goal on the 2. That's got to be a touchdown. And we didn't get that to start the game. And of course, then you get down at the end of the game and you miss some opportunities with field goals. And so, I think there's a lot of things that we need to do. But I thought time of possession. We had the football 35 minutes today. That will wear a team down, and so there's some positive things in there. But obviously, we got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone.
Wayne, how concerned are you about the fact that you guys are not able to kick field goals at this point?
Well, I'm very concerned. I mean, I don't know, what else to do other than to continue to work. We've been excellent in practice, but we have not been able to take that to the game, and so,
Do you start considering Finley? You said an emergency situation.
Well, I think, Adam has only, he's worked the last couple of weeks, and yeah, that may be a possibility. We've got to do something.
How much did he practice field goals last week?
Do you want the number of times that he kicked?
Well, are you making sure he's out there practicing every day when he's...
Yes, I am.
So you're clearly serious about this. This is not a...
Well, I didn't say I was clearly serious about anything.
Coach, did you consider going for it on that fourth down at the end, 4th and 5?
No.
Marcus Curry did not play, I don't think, at all today. What's his status? Why didn't he play?
Well, I'm not going into that.
Is that a performance issue or discipline? Sean Sanderson didn't address it.
Sean Sanderson, Marcus is not it's not a disciplinary thing, and Marcus will be back, but Zia Combs did a good job in there today, and Zia is a very emotional effort guy, and that situation will make us better. We've got good competition there. Sean Sanderson, hopefully, he had surgery on his hand, and hopefully we can get the swelling, the pain down, and but I expect him to be ready to go to Champaign.
All right, so you saw Lloyd Carr talking about the close call by the Wolverines today. Let's show you what happened. 10-0, Michigan leading this game in the fourth quarter. About 6 minutes to play, and Lance Rice comes up with a huge touchdown pass. Travis Landendress. It's 10-7, 29 yards on that strike. Late in the fourth, Michigan's kicker, Philip Brabs, having trouble. His second missed field goal of the day, and so Utah has new life, down just by 3 with $1:55 to play. They had a 1st and 28 inside their 5. They get it to 4th and 9, and it's Julius Curry with another huge defensive effort. His second interception of the game. Michigan survived in spite of the mistakes. Statistically speaking, Michigan was dominating in this game. They had the ball for more than 30 minutes, but the mistakes cost them and nearly cost them the game. 2 missed field goals, a fumble at the goal line into the end zone of Utah, which the Utes then recovered. 10-7 is the final. Lloyd Carr will take it as the Wolves improve to 3-1.
How about Penn State, the 15th-ranked Nittany Lions hosting Louisiana Tech? They stumbled a bit off the blocks, not offensively, as you see Zach Mills to Michael Robinson on the option. Robinson, 6 carries, 34 yards, 7-zip Penn State later in the first quarter. Louisiana Tech 3rd and goal, and it was the defense that was